All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We are going to go ahead and call to order the City Council regular meeting of Monday, August 21st, 2023. City Clerk, can you give me a roll call? I'm out of order.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may, I just read
Yes.
the City Council back in from closed session. The City Council has returned from closed session with no reportable action taken.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm going to do a roll call. We have Mayor Doby,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nafolda,
Here.
Councilmember Hasselbrink,
Here.
Councilmember Hibbard,
Here.
Councilmember Murphy.
Here. All right, if you all would stand and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And after that, Councilmember Hasselbrink will do our Pledge of Allegiance, and our invocation will be Councilmember Hibbard this evening.
Please join me as we honor our flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we come before you right now, Lord, and I ask that your presence fill this room. Lord, you know what our days entailed, whether that's medical challenges, family challenges, whatever challenges of the day that might have arisen, Lord. Lord, I ask that you fill this room with peace, that where there might be anger or resentment, Lord, that you replace that with kindness. We are grateful to live in this great country where we have the ability to sit and discuss our thoughts. We don't have a dictator. We are grateful for that, to live in the greatest country on earth. Lord, I pray over the next couple of hours that as we discuss the city business, Lord, that we do it with kindness, that each public comment would be with truth and kindness, and that you will give myself and my colleagues here wisdom. The good book says that all we need to do for wisdom is to ask, Lord. So right now we ask for wisdom. Give us creative thoughts to govern this city, to manage this city in a way that will most benefit the community. Lord, we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
All right, if I could get y'all to join me down front. All right, you go. Okie dokie. We have a presentation of a certificate to Sean McLean. Is he here? Hey now. Owner of Sir Speedy Printing, in recognition of being featured in the Mayor's Business Spotlight. Now I have some things I'm gonna read. Y'all, I gotta read them because if I don't, then I will skip over something and then Wendy will upset me. So the Business Spotlight program is a free business recognition program designed to create awareness about the variety of local businesses located in Los Alamitos. This Business Spotlight program is a great way for the city to say thank you, showcase great businesses in Los Al, and also provide another tool to help our businesses grow. This month's recognized business is Sir Speedy Printing. You're already up here, thank you. Sure. For 40 years, companies have relied on Sir Speedy for all their marketing and business communication needs. Your neighborhood is their neighborhood. They are here for you. Their reputation as an industry leader comes from their ongoing commitment to state-of-the-art technology and the exploration of emerging trends, allowing their customers to benefit from the latest advancements. Is there a few things you would like to say?
Just thank you. Thank you for having us. That's just short.
You sure you're done?
I'm done.
Okay. All righty. We actually have a video that can be viewed on the city's YouTube channel after tonight's meetings. They're promotional videos, and they're provided to our participants free of charge to help spread the word about their businesses. Interested parties should contact Development Services Department at City Hall. And here is a sneak peek of what to expect. Look at the TV. Don't look at me. Look at the TV. pictures, and then you said you want to say something? Okay, so pictures, and then Councilmember Hasselbrink would like to share some thoughts. Does he need to be up here for your?
I'm going to make this real quick. Sean is the way he is because mom and dad right there. They're the ones that created this legacy. Not only did they pay it forward, they paid it and instilled that work ethic and that giving back to communities. So we would be remiss if we didn't recognize mom and dad as well.
Okay, we can go back. Somebody else's turn. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm Sergeant Brian Gunsolly with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and I'm here to talk to you about fentanyl. And since today is the National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day, we need to kind of continue this talk about fentanyl and its awareness so that we can keep everybody safe. Particularly our young people. Teens are really affected by this. It's our #1 killer of teens in Orange County at this point. So fentanyl, what is it? It's a highly addictive synthetic opioid analgesic, which means it's initially made as a medicine to be used for pain, severe pain. Many people use this, and as long as they have a prescription for it and they're getting it from a reputable source like a pharmacy, then there's not a problem. Under a doctor's care, it's fine. The stuff we're talking about that's killing people in our communities, this is illegal fentanyl. This is stuff that's being shipped across into our across the border, mostly our southern border, and brought in to our streets using the kind of the cartel networks that have been in place for many, many years. Fentanyl, it's mixed in with a lot of other street drugs. It's sold mostly as a counterfeit pill or in powder form. You can see up there that there's many different pills that look legitimate, but these are counterfeit. These cartels have very sophisticated pill presses available to them to make pills that look legitimate. So you can imagine if somebody had a prescription for, let's say, Xanax, and that prescription ran out and they needed another one, they might turn to someone else who has a Xanax, and maybe someone they met online. They think they're getting a Xanax. It looks like a Xanax, but it's going to be a fentanyl pill. There are about 98% of the pills we confiscate from the streets is fentanyl, even though it looks like something else. The reason why it's so deadly is you don't need very much of it to kill you, very small amount, just 2 milligrams. I'm #1 killer of our teens in Orange County. We've had a 1,700% increase since 2016, and that's pretty much goes along with the national numbers as well as the state numbers. We have a little glimmer of good hope here that the numbers went down slightly from 2021 to 2022. So that's great. Maybe we're getting more awareness out there and more naloxone into the community, so people aren't succumbing to the overdoses like they used to. Just to put it in perspective, 675 people is about 6 Southwest airline jets going down. So that's a lot of people that it's preventable. In Los Alamitos, the opioid overdose rate is about 20.33 per 100,000 deaths. And just to compare that to the state average, which is 18.03. So it's a little bit above average. The way these cartels are making these pills is they basically take the fentanyl powder, they combine it with a binding agent which causes that pill to kind of stick together into a pill form. They put it into a pill press and they crank out these pills. And a lot of times, because that demand is so great across the world, not just here in the United States, that they are hiring farmers oftentimes to make this mixture. Some of these farmers are struggling because it's not a growing season, and so they are mixing these this powder, and sometimes just with a stick, and then they put it in a pill press, and then it gets shipped over to us. So these are not legitimate pills coming from a pharmacy, as you can see, and that mixture it ends up being each one of these pills can vary. So if you look at my cookie dough analogy here, the dough represents the binding agent and the chocolate chips represents the fentanyl. It gets kind of stirred together, and then you crank out some pills. You can see that these pills are not do not have equal amounts of fentanyl in them. So this pill has less than this one. The red one is deadly and the blue one is not. Now, the cartels don't want to kill their customers. That's just bad business. What they want to do is get them high. They want them hooked, and they want them coming back. It's all about making money for them. And so you can see that they want to produce the blue one, but oftentimes because of the quality control in place or lack of quality controls, the red one gets produced. Now the DEA is estimating 6 out of 10 pills that are on our streets are potentially the red pill. And when someone gets hooked on this, it is extremely difficult for them to get help and to get off this. With that increased potency comes increased chance that someone will become addicted to it. And so, and someone explained it to me. They said, imagine that you're traveling through the desert and you're going to die of thirst. And you know there's a town just up ahead, but you're not going to make it that far. But somebody's leaving that town and walking towards you, and they have a bottle of water. And they offer that bottle of water to you. They say, how much or what would you give me for this bottle of water so that you could live just a little bit longer? And the answer is you would give everything, right, for that bottle of water. You would give up your home. You would give up your relationships, all of your possessions for that bottle of water. And that's what we see when people get addicted to this stuff. They're willing to give up everything for it. When somebody does get addicted to it, they often use it in different ways other than ingesting it. What they'll do is they'll smoke those pills by putting it on top of foil and heating from underneath, and then breathe in the fumes. Those fumes, because of the adulterants in the pills, can smell like popcorn or burnt popcorn or caramel popcorn. And so we do hear that some of our public restrooms have smelled like this from time to time. And so we do training for our library systems and other places where we do find people who go in, maybe some of the drug users might go in and use those public places, and we train the staff. They can also grind it up and snort it, and also inject it. Social media is where these pills are being sold for the most part. It's all online. Our kids are online, so this is something that they're very vulnerable to. And it's very easy. So it used to be days where you'd have to doctor shop and go around and find a doctor to write you a prescription. Well, those days are over. Now it's all about just finding somebody on the internet. In fact, let me play this video real quick. Oh, we don't have sound? Yeah.
Sophia says that buying drugs is as easy as sending the right emoji to a so-called plug, a dealer who finds customers on apps like Snapchat.
I'm looking for a little plug emoji or like a fire emoji or just whatever emoji the normal dealers I have. They're like, yo, hit my line for gas. And then you're like, yo, you got whatever, like slang terms for whatever.
And it can happen that fast, just by communicating on Snapchat and by searching with the right emoji.
You know where to go. It's really easy.
It's a terrifying new playbook for drug dealing. Now so common, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency releasing this cheat sheet for parents and guardians showing the emojis commonly used to buy drugs on social media.
So I recommend for any parents to do spot checks on the cell phone and just see if you recognize any of these emojis. So I printed out some of these forms from the DEA website, and I put them out on the front. So if anybody's interested in picking these up, and there's a couple other flyers out there as well on fentanyl. It's also a good discussion to have with your teens if you want to just make sure that you're having those regular conversations to bring awareness to your teens, because we hear that they'll go to a party and then get a pill or something from a friend, and that friend, of course, just got it from the internet, and so it's a real risk for our youth. Some of the trends, rainbow fentanyl. That's something you can see. These pills are just look like candy practically. Another thing is xylazine is being added to it because fentanyl is not does not last. The high does not last very long. So xylazine is an animal tranquilizer. It's also called tranq, that is not for human consumption. And naloxone or Narcan does not have an effect on it. And so what it's supposed to do is extend the high that someone gets from the fentanyl that they're taking. And so one of the problems with it is it can cause necrosis of the skin, which you can see there. So if someone's injecting it, you can see how bad that addiction can get to where their body is literally coming apart and they're still injecting. Protonidazine, it's an opioid that's 3 times stronger than fentanyl, and that's also being added to it. Xanax and Valium benzodiazepines, which are usually used for like anxiety, those drugs are now also being added. The problem with those is that naloxone does not have an effect on it. Another thing that our teens are doing, it's called Go to the Light. That's where they purposely overdose on fentanyl, and then they bring themselves back with naloxone. And so, yeah, that's scary to think about that. Some of the collaborative solutions that we can do to help protect our young people in our community. So the Sheriff's Department, I'm in charge of the drug prevention education programs, and we're here for you, okay? I know you're a small community, but you know, look to us for some help, okay? Some of the things that we have that are out there is the Orange County Healthcare Agency started doing this. They started offering, finding locations in the community. Here's one flyer they recently put out for 2 places that are in Anaheim. And they can do that in your community as well, and just offer a site for people to pick up Narcan or naloxone for free. Partnering with the medical community. Now there's great medical assisted treatment drugs out there that can really help people get off these opioids, because it is so addicting. We sometimes need to just get to the medical treatment. Refer to our medical professionals for that. So getting more awareness of the types of drugs that will really help with opioid use disorder. And then our prevention programs, we have, it's recommended that you do a prevention program every 2 years for our youth so that you can just kind of keep reminding them of the dangers of substance use. So the Sheriff's Department, we have one for 5th and 6th grade. It's a 6-week program called Above the Influence. We then do assemblies in schools, and then we do parent talks, public forums, things like that, which we can all do here in this community. Something that we're offering now at the Sheriff's Department is what's called, this is for parents, it's called Parent Project. And some of those teens are kind of got some out of control behavior, and Parent Project helps with that. It teaches parents how to deal with that out of control behavior. And it can be helpful in you have 2 middle schools and a high school, that if you had one trained person, they just trained for $695, and you learn how to facilitate the program. It's really, really helpful for those parents to get back in control, maybe get that drug use under control as well. And then, of course, we have National Prescription Take-Back Day, and that happens twice a year. We have a location in Rossmore, and that's a time twice a year where we can just clear out all those medications, anything, especially if they have addictive qualities, and dispose of them so that we don't have any of our young people trying or experimenting with medication and possibly getting hooked. The next one is going to be on October 28th, 2023. There's a location near here that the Sheriff's Department does in Rossmore, which is just 2 miles away. So you can certainly refer people over to that site, and then you don't have to have your own site. But if you'd like to do one, we can certainly help set that up. And thank you very much for, I appreciate the opportunity to spread awareness.
Thank you very much. And I would just like to point out to all of us that Rossmore is just actually right across the street. Not so far. All right. Next up is oral communications. At this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker. I would request that everyone fill out either a speaker card and/or sign in on the sheet that's on the podium. I have got some speaker cards, and my first one is Adam Wood. Adam Wood?
Might be outside.
Oh. Thank you.
Evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Adam Wood with the Building Industry Association. Here to comment on item 12A. I think this is the right time for that. Yes?
Public comment, you can feel free unless you want to stay until our study session. You can talk then, your choice.
Well, hey, you know what? I'll stay there. I'd love to hear the staff report on it.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. All right, so I've got two other speaker cards for Mark Churko and Gary Lowe. I guess I can give y'all the option. You can come and share now or share later. Okay, so I've got a Churko says later. Gary Lowe? You, later? Okay. Gary, L-O-E. I think that's what it says. Oh, talking to me. Okay, great. It looked like you were saying and then looking behind you. So I got a little confused, but we're back on track. All right, well then, was there anyone else? Oh, come.
Talk about item 12. Okay. My name is Ashley Nichols and I live in 11331 Pine Street, Los Alamitos. I got notes, I'm getting old, so I've got to remember what I've got to say. So, dear Mayor Dobie, Pro Tem Mayor Nefulda, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and distinguished council members. My name is Ashley Nichols and I live in Pine Street, Los Alamitos. As a local homeowner, I would like to express my concern about the recent ALOC developments and request that the council votes to override the ALOC determination. I believe in local representation and determination. Therefore, I am not in favour of Orange County ALOC having control over all planning decisions that require a permit in our local community. This only adds additional layers of bureaucratic oversight and has a direct impact on property rights and a negative effect on property values. This is not in the best interest of homeowners and can only bog down people's rights to change their habitat for the better. I think I would be right in saying if you knocked on every resident's door or even asked your own City of Los Alamitos staff a simple question, do you want our local council to relinquish its planning rights to another authority, 99% of them would say no. And why do you ask? Well, we know our local issues and we know what is best for us. It's also my understanding that the Seal Beach, Newport Beach and Irvine City Councils have all put the interests of their residents first and have voted to retain local planning control. It's my hope that the Los Alamitos City Council also follows suit and makes the same decision. It's the residents and homeowners of Los Alamitos that have entrusted the council with the opportunity to do what's right for them, and I cannot see how handing off local control of planning is in their or my best interest. I also ask if you can ignore residents of areas such as Rossmore and Seal Beach sitting on the sidelines adding their opinion about affairs of Los Alamitos. They will not be affected by the council's decision. So please stay focused on the property rights of the homeowners of Los Alamitos and ignore the noise from those neighbouring areas. I ask you, why even have a local council if the decisions that affect us locally are made elsewhere? Whether it be development under flight paths or how many bathrooms I can have in my house, let's keep those decisions local. Please do the right thing and vote to ensure homeowners' rights are maintained and controlled locally by voting to override the ALOC determination. Thanks for this opportunity.
All righty. Yeah. Come on up.
My name is Ricardo Ortiz, Captain, retired Los Angeles City Fire Department. and a resident of Los Alamitos since 1962, original owner in the Rossmore Highlands. I came back from vacation, and I could not believe this flyer that I got here in reference to the Orange County Airport Commission. Now, I would like to know what impact does me building or modifying my house or a gazebo or jacking up my car in the garage have anything to do with the Airport Commission? I see no reason how whatever modeling I'm going to do to my house is going to impact the airport. I've been here since 1962. When I came here, first thing I went to the airport, what is the traffic here? At that time, there were the Blue Angels, beautiful sight, and the impact was very minimum. So anybody that lives in this area has to realize that we do have planes flying out of the airport. There's never been an accident here since we've been here except one, and that was in the early 60s when a jet dropped its engine over in Rossmore and went through about 2 or 3 backyards. That's the only incident. The rest of it is all open space. They go over the ammo dump. When I was stationed at LAX, we had 2 United Airlines crash in the ocean within 2 weeks. You have planes flying into Long Beach. You got planes flying into LAX. There's never been an incident. So why are we being impacted with this Airport Commission? What is the council's position on this? Why are they infringing on our rights? We already have Section 8, which is President Obama's, where they have to have a certain amount of 10% of affordable housing. You already have that Lamson project going down there, which is another beauty. So again, why? You don't see it in Brentwood. You don't see it in Beverly Hills. You don't see it in Newport Beach. So why do we have to have it here in Los Alamitos? And I tell you this because I've worked in those areas. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. So I'm quite familiar with Los Angeles. So there again, why are we stuck with this? And the other incident I want to mention to you, I've been saving these clippings from the Enterprise, which was written by some lady named Churchill's. And it started out with the impact that the state has. It started out with 769 homes, and according to this, it only requires 369. And the city here came up with 1,200. Well, that's quite an impact on the city regarding fire, police, school, medical, and whatnot. So explain it to me. I'd appreciate it.
You got it, sir.
We got it. Well,
you stick around for the study session that we're going to do. We will go.
I'd like to know what you're doing about it.
We are going to
That's
go
what I
into
like
all
to
the
do.
details.
Thank you. Again, I've said before, affordable housing is not conducive to a nice community. I've been all through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share now, or the rest of you waiting until later? Okie dokie. Well, I'll go ahead and close oral communications, and we will move on to item 8, which is updates from the mayor. At this time, the mayor will report on items not specifically described on the agenda that are of
Point of
interest.
order, I think council is able to respond to public comments.
No. Thank you. That are of interest to the community, provided no action or discussion is taken. So the first thing is I wanted to take a moment to thank our emergency personnel that was on call this entire weekend because of Hurricane Hillary. I received more than a few compliments from residents about seeing our public works and our code enforcement trucks patrolling the neighborhoods. Thank you, and to those that were manning the Emergency Operations Center and keeping us informed throughout the weekend, thank you. Our code enforcement is so spectacular. I saw a broken tree branch in front of McAuliffe on my way to work, and it was gone a few hours later when I left. So thank y'all for stellar work per usual. And I also want to mention that we will be having a Budget Standing Committee meeting in September, where we will be getting an update about the impacts of our first early pension paydown payment. I'm so excited to see this plan in action and that our small city has been able to tackle this issue head on. I again have to thank our management and finance team for the work that they have done to make this possible, and that you aren't just satisfied with the win, but that you constantly look for new elements to add to this plan so we can save our residents as much as we can. And I was also recently reminded that our city has a AAA bond rating. So Craig, you're doing a fantastic job. Next, I would like to bring our attention to the Senior Expo. The Los Alamitos Rec and Community Services Department is excited to host its inaugural Memorial Care Elevate Encore Senior Expo. The first-time event for those ages 50 plus is designed to provide health, wellness, and resources for our second act, including areas such as housing, legal resources, insurance, medical assistance, transportation, caregiving resources, leisure activities, and more. Additionally, a portion of the fair is designated as a senior volunteer fair with an opportunity for nonprofit organizations seeking older adults or retired adults as volunteers. This event is completely free and will take place at the Los Al Community Center, which is located at 10911 Oak Street. On Wednesday, August 23rd, from 10 to 12, a light breakfast will be provided along with special giveaway, lunch coolers for the first 100 in attendance. I know that sounds like a big number, but our community center gets packed out. Our seniors are very active. And then a wide variety of door prizes will also be raffled off to those in attendance. Next, we have our Pine Streets Eats. It's streets, but it's with eats. City of Los Al has launched an exciting economic development-driven grant program named Pine Streets, which will be a special feature at the upcoming Memorial Care Miller Children and Women's Hospital Long Beach Celebrate Los Al event. Ooh, that's a mouthful. Everything about Los Alamitos will be celebrated on Saturday, September 16th. More on the whole event to come from Director Emmeline Noda. Pine Streets will be adding a foodie element. The grant will provide up to 20 Los Alamitos-based restaurants and/or home-based food-related businesses to participate as an exhibitor at the event by offering a taste from their menu. Each eligible participating exhibitor may receive up to $5,000 to cover personnel and supply costs related to the event. The application and program rules are available online, and registration for participation will open through Thursday, September 7th. Please contact the Development Services Department to register if you have a fabulous restaurant in Los Al and want to be a part of Celebrate Los Al. Next, we will go to updates from the city staff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I just wanted to echo your praise for the Public Works staff and everyone that was involved in the storm preparation. One group that is largely unsung in this is the members of our CERT teams who are actually down in Seal Beach filling sandbags on Friday and Saturday. So they clearly are kind of the unsung heroes in all this, so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned them as well. I would like to actually pass along to Director Noda so that she can give us all the updates about the upcoming Celebrate Los Al event.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. I'd like to invite all of you here in our crowd here tonight and everyone out there in the community to our Memorial Care Miller Children's and Women's Hospital Long Beach Celebrate Los Al on Saturday, September 16th, 2023. It's a full day of events. Are you ready? 7:30 a.m., Race Los Al, Universal Waste Systems Race Los Al, 5K, 10K, over on Pine Street. You can register at racelosal.com. And then we have Serve Los Al, which is a citywide volunteer service event that we serve all of the local nonprofits who are participating in Serve Los Al. We clean up our parks. We go wash windows at Royal Oak Mobile Home Park. And we do all kinds of good stuff for the community that all of you are invited to join in on. That's over at the assembly is going to be at Oak Middle School Outdoor Auditorium. And then we take a little bit of a break and we set up for street fair over on Pine Street. We're adding a carnival event as well. We have concerts, we have vendors, we've got a kid zone. We have a veterans recognition at 5:30. We have a public safety fair with our lovely police department. And we've got Pine Streets starting at 5:30. And then we end with our glow run and glide at 7:30 p.m. And then everything wraps up at 10 o'clock. And you can find more information at cityoflosalamitos.org. Thank you.
Also, everyone in the crowd, my daughter's birthday is that week, and she believes that entire celebration is for her. So if you can just, it's Relsen's birthday. With that, I would like to draw attention to one item that's on the consent calendar tonight, and that is the item F, I believe, which is the grand jury response with regards to school shooting. I'm going to hand it over to Chief Claiborne to speak a little bit about this because it's such an important issue, but I wanted to start by saying and complimenting the chief on the amount of work that he has done in a very short period of time in order to ensure that we have done everything that we can in order to fortify our responses to those type of incidents, the type of equipment that he has gone out and procured, the relationships that he has built with the various school staff, and just the lessons that he has imparted upon his own staff about how exactly to prepare for these. So, Chief, please.
Thank you. One of the first things we did was re-implement the school resource officer here in the city of Los Alamitos. So I'm going to ask Officer Brucky to come up and enlighten us on some of the things that we have done to address the grand jury report.
Hello, I'm Officer Brookie. I'm the school resource officer for the city of Los Alamitos. Some of the findings in the grand jury report that I can address here. One finding for needing an SRO we agreed on, an additional SRO. Half of my funding as the SRO comes from a tobacco grant. So that's 50% of my salary, and it covers 100% of training and equipment. Another finding is the safety inspections of the schools, an annual safety inspection. Previous year, last year is my first year as an SRO. I did complete a safety inspection. This mandate is asking for an annual safety inspection. So I've completed a safety inspection of each campus, all 4 campuses in the city. Also implementing a response form for each school, which is basically all of the key personnel, all the phone numbers, utilities, electric, gas, all the fire suppression equipment, pretty much all of the contact lists for each school. We're going to have updated annually. PD joining in a tabletop exercise was another suggestion from the grand jury. The schools already do tabletop exercises with their staff, and we're implementing it now with the staff of joining them as a PD and collaborating with their already existing tabletop exercises. The active shooter drills, it's saying an annual active shooter drill. Last year we completed one at McAuliffe Middle School. I'm sorry, LAE Elementary. We've got another one planned, I believe, in March this next year. We're going to continue on doing an annual active shooter drill. Another recommendation was an MOU with the schools for their security. So I've got the approval from the district. We're going to go ahead and implement an MOU. We're working on for the police department to access all of the security cameras at all the campuses, so we can access it from the department or however we set it up. That pretty much covers all of the findings in the grand jury report.
And one of the things I would like to point out is that half of the items on there we were already addressing ourselves prior to the grand jury releasing their report of recommendations. And one of the things Officer Brookie did not mention, that we go an additional step, such as, and mind you, all of these were being done before the grand jury report was released. We are in the process of getting every officer on the department sent to a 3-day active shooter course in response to school shootings. Every officer is being sent to a tactical emergency casualty care course so that they can address trauma care during an active shooter incident. Both of those trainings are being paid for by the UWASI grant, and it's for a net cost of $0 for the city. And in addition to that, having an emergency manager that we have for the city in Robert Acosta, who used to work for the Orange County Fire Authority, was integral in getting us Halligans installed or equipped in each one of the police cars in the city, so that any officer responding to the police department will be able to gain access to any room on the campus, should we not, so that we will not have to wait for staff to respond to that location for keys to be able to gain access. And so these are just learning moments that we've had from active shooter incidents that have occurred around the country. And we've been very proactive here in the city of Los Alamitos in attempting to address those concerns even before the grand jury report came out.
Thank you, Chief. I also like to mention that this is a constant topic of conversation with the working groups with the district. And again, we'll continue to gain any leverage that we can that's going to make our schools safer. And with that, Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
I saw something from Ron. No, Ron? No poll replace? You?
Mayor, if I could, just doubling back on that item, just to add one point of clarification that I think may be useful. The term grand jury at this point in time is heavily weighted and potentially has maybe some negative connotations. So I just want to clarify for the group and for the audience in attendance that when we're talking about these grand jury reports, the grand jury is impaneled every year to provide a civil watchdog or investigatory functions where they conduct an extensive amount of research on issues of their choice. Here we're talking about school shooting incidents. And then they ultimately will release a report to numerous jurisdictions, and these reports include sort of their summary of what they feel to be best practices, recommendations, and findings that, if followed, lead to the most desirable results in that area of interest. And so I just wanted to highlight that what we're talking about here is highlighting the fact that the PD has actually already adhered to, met, or exceeded the recommendations and the findings included in this report, which I think is noteworthy.
Los Al is the standard. Thank you. Now, was there a CE poll? No?
Oh, yeah, actually, I'm sorry. I did want Director Noda to give an update on the status of the repair to the community center roof as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Member of City Council. So just a really quick update. We will be bringing this item to the next month's City Council in September. But right now, we received one bid for the project, the emergency project over at the community center roof. I am trying to secure a second and third bid so we could compare. But right now, we are slated to come in at next month's City Council meeting with a reallocation of funds as the roofing project, if you recall, when Council appropriated about $500,000 to the project, the bid that we received is above that. So we have to come back to, again, provide information and ultimately seek approval from council if we want to proceed with that roofing project.
Okay.
And I will mention too, Madam Mayor, that during this process, and again, the damage is isolated to one area within the community center. One of the key operating principles that we've been working under is to ensure that we keep all of the programs still running and in place, especially during the summer when it's some of our busiest times of the year with seniors and then also the various camps that we run.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we're moving on to warrants. Can I get a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
I'd like to pull it, please.
Okay.
I just have a few questions. In regards to item number 10A, the warrants, On page 18, under Wilden Engineering, they provided services in the amount of $12,757.15. What services were provided or performed?
I'll ask Mr. Noda to answer that, but Wildan does provide our engineering services.
So I want to kill Councilmember Murphy, I'm sorry. You said page 18 of the warrant, correct?
Correct.
And so, and then, and which specific one? So like City Manager Simmons said, our engineering firm provides us a lot of services, from our traffic engineer to our public works superintendent to projects based. And so we line item each project according to what they're working on. So we do have a city engineer that comes into the city approximately 30 hours a week, but he has the entire force of Wildan behind him. So we're doing landscaping design. We have, as you can see in tonight's packet, we have a request for approval from council to go RFP for the demolition of a building that's on site. We have different people working at Wildan doing that, and so they line item that, and that's why you see that amount there.
And that's specifically for the community center roof?
So the community center roof here is just $12,757, right? I see on the warrants. That is specifically because they're the one that drew up the specs for repairs.
Okay. Great. Thank you. On page 30, under Orange County Council of Governments, the annual OCC OG dues 23-24 in the amount of $4,869.07. Is this total amount paid used only for council member dues, or does it include any other staff members or anything like that?
For OCOG is actually it's the city's proportional share. So it's for the amount for the city to be a member.
Okay. Great. And final request, according to page 19, under League California Cities Annual, there are two line items, one in the amount of $650 and the second in the amount of $245.93. What is the difference between the two reference amounts?
I believe one is I'm sorry, I'm looking at the city clerk because I know she knows. I believe one is a hotel room, and I believe one is the registration for the conference itself.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Okay, so I got a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Mayor Doby,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Nafolda,
Aye.
Councilmember Hasselbrink,
Aye.
Councilmember Hibbert,
Aye.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
All right, next we'll move on to the consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be acted upon by one motion unless a council member requests separate action on a specific item. So I will ask if anyone has an item that they would like to pull.
I would like to pull the City Council travel policy, item 11B.
Okay, and did you need a staff report, or did you just have some questions for clarity?
I have some questions for clarity.
Okay.
Mr. Simmons, could you let the public know who proposed these changes to the travel policy?
This was a recommendation that was made by the Budget Standing Committee as part of the budget process.
And what council members are on the Budget Standing Committee?
The mayor, Mayor Doby, and Councilmember Hasselbrink.
Thank you. And what financial justification are there for these proposed changes?
It's again, City Council sets policy with regards to travel and the expenditure of funds, so that's a budgetary decision, so something that falls clearly in the council's purview.
Do you have any financial justification for this proposed policy?
In terms of how much we are spending on travel, or what the ramifications of the policy would be?
Not necessarily the ramifications. So if this is a severe reduction in the travel policy, it's going to affect all the council members. What it's going to do, it's going to exclude everyone besides the mayor, unless the mayor cannot attend something. So I'm looking for some sort of financial justification, any financials, any specifics.
Well, I understand what you're saying. So I will say this, is that since I first arrived here, there's been a council budget that has been largely, I think, held in line since that time. Obviously, there was very little travel during the COVID years. Now that we have gotten to the time and place where there is more travel, we have gone above our allotted amount in terms of what it was budgeted for council.
And can you provide any numbers? What does that mean specifically?
I could ask the finance director if he can give us some highlights. I can say from just an email that I read earlier today that there were 2 trips to Sacramento that cost around $10,000 for 3 council members to attend.
Okay.
And then there would also be a trip to, also for the mayor to go and attend SCAG out in the desert. So, or I'm sorry, the acronym escapes me at the moment.
You're correct, it's SCAG.
Okay, perfect. And then it also would include any time that a council member would attend a one of the local events here, one of the local trainings, to pay for that, mileage reimbursement, also any events that the council might attend.
So this proposed travel policy is going to eliminate 4 of the 5 council members from going to certain trainings that exceed a certain threshold. So what I'd like to, really present the public with is maybe, Mr. Kohler, you can speak to, annually, the city council has a certain budget. We have a dollar amount, $60,000, $70,000, something like this. Why are we severely reducing this where it's benefiting one of the 5 council members? And I'm looking for a financial justification. Do we have that?
Well, the total city council budget is approximately $66,000.
Thank you.
The line item that's budgeted currently for travel and training is only $6,000. So the actual expenditures have greatly exceeded that.
I'd like to dial in on this. As the public might recall, last month I identified several elements that were miscategorized to the council budget. Between last month's meeting and now, we've identified just over $15,000 that were miscategorized. So that's why I'm looking for this financial justification, is because in the last 30 days, $15,000 have returned to the city council budget, and I'm looking for any sort of financial justification why we're proposing these changes.
Well, again, I think that those will be appropriate questions to ask the Budget Standing Committee, but I will say that the policy as written or as proposed essentially would, and I'll read it for everyone. When the total travel expenditure of an event, registration, lodging, auto, airfare, meals, etc., will cost over $500, only one city representative shall be entitled to be reimbursed for their attendance. The mayor, presiding officer, shall have first right to attend the event at the city's expense. The second right will go to the mayor pro tem or vice chair, and then council member with the most seniority. Should a council member believe there is a benefit to the city to incur the cost of sending more than one city council representative to an event, they may bring the item before the next city council agenda for approval. So I believe that the policy as proposed envisions a way to allow for council members to attend in addition to those that are already enumerated in the policy.
How the warrants that we just referenced, how much was that registration?
$650.
Would that exceed this travel policy, this proposed change to the travel policy?
It is over $500.
It would be.
Yes.
So would someone else besides the mayor be able to attend that training?
If an item was brought to the city council and it was approved, yes. Or a member could pay for their own travel as well.
Okay, so that's my concern, and I really want to make this really clear for the public, is this travel policy excludes all of the city council members if the mayor, whoever the mayor might be at that time, wants to attend various trainings that exceed, for example, the League of California Cities. For example, in January, myself, I'm the newest elected council member, myself, another council member, the mayor, and the city manager, we went to Sacramento to attend a training, new council member training, new mayor training, things like that. This policy would exclude new council members, as I'm interpreting this, from going and getting the training like we did in January.
Unless an item was brought to the city council specifically to approve it.
And that's my concern, is I don't think that this council would approve that. So I want to make it very clear who's excluding this. In the policy that you just read, it lists first the mayor, again, whoever the mayor might be at that time, followed by the mayor pro tem, followed by who's the third person who could attend that?
The next senior member of the council.
Okay, who does that exclude? Who does this policy specifically exclude?
Well, it just sends an order from the mayor to the mayor pro tem to the most senior council member. So it'll be the next two council members.
The next two council members. So in November, let's say November 24, during our normal elections, let's say we have two new council members that are elected and they join this council. What new member training will they be provided with?
There is new member council training that is provided locally. We would have to, at that time, look and see what exactly the cost of that training would be.
That's my concern, is the cost of the trainings that I've attended so far on council are $625 through the League of California Cities. And since the threshold is less than that, by default, it would prohibit new council members from receiving training.
So, like someone just spoke from the audience, and just to try to expedite this process a little bit, it is not exclusionary. It is actually trying to get more value for what our residents are paying. What we cannot do is just we don't have the budget to just send everybody wherever. There are some cities that do, and God bless them, but we're not that city. So what this says is, if a training is over a certain amount of money, and a council member can say, hey, this is the value add that I can go and I will bring back. I can learn this, I can learn this, I will meet with this person, I can network this, whatever the case may be, and we can clearly enumerate on what the value add is, it can be voted on and the person can go. This is by no means exclusionary, because as he just said, we can also pay for ourselves to go. Like, I wanted to go to DC, I did not have any discernible benefit that I could articulate, so I paid to go. I bought my flight, I bought my hotel. Well, Wendy did it, I had to reimburse her, but because I can't sit here and say, hey, send me, and then not be able to come back and tell you why you sent me. Okay? Now, the mayor or whomever goes, so that trip, you ran the numbers, the room and the hotel, I am going in September because we voted and consent calendar agreed that I would be our voting delegate for Los Alamitos up to the League of California Cities. That was something that we all agreed on. It was a preempt to bring it before the council and then we can discuss it. Now, with that, I think that's as clearly as I think that point can be articulated. Are there any additional questions regarding 11B, the travel policy specifically?
I have more specific questions. One, when I was in school getting my master's in public administration, one of the things that we're taught to look out for is limitations in policies. There's no limitations to this policy. So let's say we had a mayor, whoever the mayor might be, and that $60,000, $70,000 city council budget. This policy, these proposed changes, lack any sort of limitation in that policy. So there's no, it doesn't state that they can spend up to 1/5 of the council, of the city council budget. There's no limitations. Why are there not any limitations?
The council is free to propose changes to this policy. This is just what we were asked to put together. So if you have specific items that you would like to add, I would suggest making a motion to add them to the policy.
Thank you. I would move to add language to this policy to make it, 1/5. Each council member can have 1/5 of the travel policy to make sure that that is equal.
Again, this isn't necessarily a matter of equal. It is a matter of what the council member will bring back specifically to the city. We are not traveling so that we can just go. That's not the point of this at all. And if anybody would like to know what I brought back to our city in the 8 months that I have been on council and the events that I've gone to, please feel free to email me or see me after this meeting. But that becomes the bottom line. There are some things that are more global. We are a unit. We are a council body. So if I go, the Los Al Council is going. So it's not, oh, well, I need to go It's more, okay, we are going because I'm physically there.
Can I clarify a little bit more? Just in part of the Budget Standing Committee, and the reason we came up with this is we were doing the budget, and everybody else, we were making them sharpen their pencils. And we looked at this, and we could either, one, put in a policy that limited us to make sure that we didn't go into any rogue spending, or we could just increase our budget, and that is not what the taxpayers want us to do. There is some training out there. The majority of our travel is networking and advocacy trips. To go up to Sacramento to meet with Janet Wynn and Tree-Taw when they lived down here just seemed a little bit extraordinary. There was no training involved with that. It was just to meet them in their offices. And I just think that we need to, as leaders, we need to wrangle our own policies in so we're not telling everybody else to sharpen the pencils and to cut spending, and then we just have this policy that if we feel like going on a trip, and trust me, there's plenty of trips. We could be going weekly on things if we wanted to that we're invited to. We have some sort of self-governing amongst us, and it's not limiting anybody. It's just putting in parameters and justifications about why we're traveling.
My comment would be, in consideration that you have spoken about fiscal responsibility and conservatism, if a council member is going to pay out of their pocket, why is there a limitation where it states that you can't attend, you have to attend as an individual and not speak on the behalf of the city? Because if the consideration is the money that you do not want to remove from the community, and a council member says, I'm going to spend my own money, why is there necessary to go ahead and remove the idea that they can speak as part of the city council when they're just paying it for themselves?
Because if we're spending our own personal money, the city can't make us not talk about, we can't represent the city on our own personal dime, basically is what, it's a gray area that it's a city-sanctioned event that the city is paying for, and we're going to, if we do it on personally, what does that look like in representing the city?
Well, is it possible to put in the verbiage that if we do proceed to, I guess, go in front of a council and we decide to pay ourselves, is there going to be any further limitations on that? So if you go in front of the council and the council majority says, no, we don't agree with you proceeding with this trip, and you decide to pay on your own, does that mean that that's still going to go with the limitations that you can't speak on the city when you did make the attempt to speak in front of the council to have a vote to go on the event, to attend the event?
I guess it would depend on the reason that the council didn't agree. Right, is that the bottom line with that? Like if there was no reason other than a budgetary issue, unless I'm missing something.
I agree with Councilmember Hasselbrink on, she provided the closest thing to financial justification. She's looking at the numbers, and we want to rein it in. I agree with that. My concerns with this policy, maybe we could bring it back later and add in some limitations, or at least tonight, a motion to amend, to add in some clarity so that, let's say one day we had a mayor, whoever the mayor might be 5 years down the road, that had access to these, wanted to go to everything. And it's about $60,000, $70,000 on the city's dime. If that particular mayor didn't want to then, come January when we rotate through, really liked being mayor and wanted to remain, wanted to keep access to the city council's budget, I think this proposed policy is silent on that. So I understand the financial justification. Absolutely, this is the public's finances. I think it could use a little bit of work.
Well, that's an easy fix because everyone has to agree that mayor can rotate back in. And then that council at that time could seek to amend whatever they'd like in 5 years. That would no longer be our purview if we weren't in these seats. And no one person can deal. I can't say, I love this job, I'm doing it again. At least 3 of y'all would have to agree with me. So that would nullify, that is not my desire. By the way, y'all, I'm on a countdown. I got 4 months. Countdown with me.
And the sole decision of who attends and who doesn't attend is not reside with the mayor. It defaults to the mayor, but if you want to go on a place, you come before us as a body, present your case, and then we as a body, mayor being one vote, just like everybody else, determines whether that's a just cause and we can justify the expense and what you're going for. So it's not, the mayor can't stifle everybody from travel. It still has to come to a council and act it on the 5 of us.
Is that, I like that. Is that, I didn't see that in this proposed travel policy, that the mayor's travel has to come before the council?
No, no, no. If another council member wants to go, and there's already somebody designated to go, like the mayor pro tem, the council member could then present it to the city council of why they think they should go and give their justification. And then as a member of 5, we then vote on whether that meets the justifications to allow an additional person to go. That's in the policy.
Okay, I do like that. I still am a little bit hesitant on the lack of limitations. Should someone want to use the whole city council budget, theoretically?
So in descending order, there would be, obviously there's opportunities to go to different trainings and conferences and such, and the mayor would have as written, the mayor would have the first opportunity, then the mayor pro tem, then the most senior council member. Again, if the council wishes to change this policy, they have the ability to essentially police yourselves with regards to if you believe a certain council member is taking advantage of going to multiple trips that don't seem to be evidence to the city, then the council as a body can take action to stop them.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions or items to pull from the consent calendar? Or is it just a travel policy? No? Okay, well, can I get a motion then?
I'll move the consent calendar.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Will you, a roll call or all in favor? All in favor, say aye.
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 No.
Opposed?
No.
No.
All right. We go to what? Is it H now, Wendy? What am I on? Public hearing? Are we at the public hearing now?
Yes, ma'am, 12A.
Okie dokie. All righty, we are on to what most of y'all are here for, the public hearing portion. So we are conducting a study session and resolution number 20. Do you do this part? Okay. 2023-20, overruling the Orange County Airport Land Use Commissioner's inconsistency determination for the city's 6th cycle housing element. On January 19, 2023, the Orange County Airport Land Use Commission found the city's 6th cycle, which is from 2021 to 2029 housing element update, to be consistent with the 2017 Joint Forces Training Base LaSalle Airport Environs Land Use Plan. On February 21st, the City Council adopted Resolution 2023-04, providing notice of the city's intent to overrule the ALAK's determination. On July 17th, the City Council conducted a study session and reviewed information related to ALAK's finding of consistency. Following a staff presentation, a receipt of public testimony, the City Council continued the public hearing to tonight's regular meeting. The City Council will now consider adoption of a resolution overruling the ALEX determination, which requires a 4/5 affirmative vote. Oh, that's right. All right, thank you. Okay, we had to get our consultant on the line. I would just like to clarify for those of you that have downloaded our agenda packet that there are redundant attachments due to the nature of the reports. So staff reports from ALUC and the city staff included the same relevant attachments. So in an effort to remain transparent, duplicate attachments were not removed from the record. And as listed on the agenda, correspondences received before 3 p.m. have been provided to council and are available for public review through the city clerk's office. As a side note, we did get some additional comments that were after the 3 o'clock. I will be submitting those to her, and those will also be uploaded to our site. And then, City Clerk, can you give us a summary feedback of what was received by the 3 o'clock deadline?
Yes, ma'am. So by the 3 o'clock deadline, we had received 33 written letters of support for overruling ALUC and 4 in opposition. We did also receive several phone calls and as of 3 o'clock, we had 20 in support of overriding ALUC, none stated in opposition. We did have several where we tried to return their voicemails, but we're not able to get a hold of anyone.
Thank you. And staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm going to turn it over to Director Noda. Our consultant, Nicole Chris, she is actually based in Palm Desert, and as you are all aware, I'm sure that the 10 freeway has been closed and that Palm Springs is basically a little island unto itself right now. And so out of consideration for her safety, she will be joining us by telephone tonight. Mr. Noda.
All right, thank you. Like City Manager Simmons says that we have Nicole Christ on the line, but I will do the bulk of the presentation, and she'll be available for questions at the end, okay? So a little background. The Orange County Airport Land Use Commission, as we know them as ALUC, has authority to review the city general plan and amendment for consistency with the Joint Forces Training Base Airport Environment Land Use Plan, or ALUP. Because we have a airport in the city, ALUC has, again, able to review that. There are certain cities out there that was mentioned earlier that ALUC has no, review of their plan. It's because they don't have an airport within their vicinity. But because we have the Joint Forces Training Base in Los Alamitos, ALUC does have that review of our general plan. The city submitted our housing element to ALUC for review in December of 22, and ALUC determined that our housing element was inconsistent with the land use plan on January 19, 2023. A little background here. On February of 23, after we got notified by ALUC, the City Council adopted the housing element update. And also on that day, in February of 23, City Council adopted a resolution 2023-04, notifying ALUC that it's intended to overrule ALUC's decision. During that time, that process, staff was working on the mandate that the HCD has given us and every city and every county in the state of California. We call that the RHNA number, or Regional Housing Needs Assessment. And so we've been working on that for several years. And on May 1st of 2023, the Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, notified Los Alamitos that our housing element complied with state law, and therefore we have a certified housing element. I think as of today, we are only about half of the Orange County cities that has a certified housing element. ALUC, in their findings in their letter to the city, found that the housing element was inconsistent because Site 6, which is approximately 12.5 acre that's located on Lamson, Site 10, which is approximately 2.5 acre site that's on Catella, pretty much by Siboney, right? It's a little bit before Siboney, but it's on Catella, and are located within the 60 to 65 dBA noise contour of JTFTB, right? Site 7, which is approximately 4.3 acres, is Laurel Park, a city-owned park, and that is on the corner of Bloomfield and Catella, is adjacent to the aircraft safety zone and under the flight path, which I will talk about in a little bit. Okay? So the first thing we're going to tackle here, according to what ALUC has given us, is the noise. So some common noise basics. The most common noise measurement for planning purposes for noise is called the Community Noise Equivalent Level, CNEL. And when we measure noise, we measure the average of that noise level over a 24-hour period of time. We don't do it in a 1-hour period or a 12-hour period. We do it over a 24-hour period of time. And some example of some noise and what their dBA is. So noise can come from either a stationary source, which is like an air conditioner, or if you have a pool at home, your pool machine or your pool equipment, and mobile, which is of course traffic. It could either be an electric bike, a vehicle, or a moving thing in the air, like an airplane or a helicopter. So again, certain reference points here. Two people talking in a room at a normal chatting level is considered to be 60 dBA. A blender is considered anywhere between 80 to 90 dBA, and a leaf blower is considered at 110 dBAs. Okay. So ALA considers the 60 to 65 dBA range to be conditionally consistent for residential units because there's a risk that interior noise level might not be reduced to 45 dBAs, right? So what does that mean? In simple people's term, that means that they find that there's a probable cause for the quality of life if a house is within that range. Again, there is a risk that interior noise level might not be reduced to the 45, right? The city's general plan has a standard of 65 dBA exterior and requires 45 dBA for interior noise levels, all right? And so that's in our plan. So anytime a development comes into the city, we are aware of that 45 dBA level, and so our planning and building department, along with our planning department, works with the developer to make sure that the inside of the resident or commercial building that sits in that range is 45 dBAs or below. Okay? So again, I want to stress here that as you can see in the map here, the yellow area right there, right, there's different zones, right? And I think it's an orange level. Anything inside the orange level is higher than 60 to 65. Between the orange and the yellow is the 60 to 65 range, right? So site 6 and 10 are within ALUC 60 to 65 dBA noise range. Site 10, and I would say both sites, site 10 and site 6 is surrounded by existing development, including existing homes. I believe there's over 1,000 homes just around site 10 itself. Both sides are on the outer edge of the boundary, closer to the 60 dBA level. Okay, so again, some comparison to just regular city noise. Remember, in an urban setting, right, such as the city of Los Alamitos, we are in an urban setting, right? We typically have higher noise, right? And so we have some example of some ambient noise level just associated with streets. So as you can see there on Los Al Boulevard between Farquhar to Orangewood, we measured that at 76.1. Catella, just right outside our council chamber, again, according to a 24-hour CNL span, is 78.3. And Cerritos Avenue between Los Alamitos Boulevard to Bluefield Street is 71 CNEL. So there's many ways that when, again, I mentioned that when our planning division and our building and safety division reviews development, we could reduce the noise. One is, of course, just straight space, right? If you have a street, you could have a longer setback, right? The longer the setback, you could decrease the noise level. You can install walls. Walls reduce noise levels by about 5 dBAs. Again, there's many, what type of material of the wall, right? Naturally, if you have a cinder block wall, it might deflect noise better than if you put wood, like a wooden panel wall, for instance, okay? Standard building construction can reduce noise levels by anywhere between 10 to 20. And how you can do that is you increase stucco and insulation thickness. You upgrade your windows. We can sit there and say you have double pane windows. You could have insulating doors. And again, the building code in Los Alamitos and actually in the state requires that construction have interior noise level of 45 dBA or less. Okay? The second thing we're going to tackle here is safety, right? So safety, again, you know, we work for the city. I worked for the city a long time. Safety is a big deal. Again, Development Services oversees building and safety. And so Site 7 is not, which the ALUC has stated is not safe, but we state here that the Site 7 is not adjacent to the ALUC safety zone, which is entirely within this airport boundary. And the reason why is Site 7 is not under a flight path. Right? You can see by the map there, Laurel Park, which is Site 7, does not fall within the flight path, so therefore there's no safety. The other site, again, I want to reiterate 6 and 10, it does not fall under the flight path of the Joint Forces Training Base. Okay? So consequences of inconsistent determination, all right? As I believe Mayor Doby stated that tonight, if council chooses, they can vote on overrule. They do need a 4/5 vote. But basically, in a nutshell, I like to say that we lose city control. Okay? So what does that mean? If we do not overrule, ALUC will need to review every permit proposed to the city, from home additions to any commercial projects. All right? And so again, typically we have currently a one-step process for home additions or any type of development, whether it's commercial or residential. You come to the city, you go to our planning commission, the planning commission reviews it, and then they make that determination. If we do not overrule, now it becomes a two-step process possibly where you have to go to the planning commission, and then you have to go to ALUC, right? And so there, put some examples down there: Newport Beach, Irvine, Costa Mesa, and Seal Beach. They have airports within the vicinity of their cities, and they have already completed the overrule procedures in those cities. Additional consequences of inconsistency. Okay, again, I stated earlier that HCD approved the city's housing element in May of 2023. HCD would decertify our housing element because the RENA numbers that Los Alamitos was given, I want to remind that our RENA number was given at 767, cannot be achieved, right? And if HCD decertifies the housing element, the city has to find alternate location for 396 units. Where did I get that number for 396? That's the numbers that are affixed to site 6, 7, and 10, all right? And so 6, 7, and 10 equates to 396. That is over 50% of the RENA numbers that was given to us by the state of California, okay? The city loses its ability to apply for parks and road improvement funds. We receive several funds annually and from the state, and if we have a decertified housing element, then again, we have a strong possibility of us losing those funding. The city loses its ability to apply standards to affordable housing projects, and under the builder's remedy provision, again, we lose city control. This basically gives developers that, lack for a better term, loophole to apply for a builder's remedy. And now, the last one there is now, again, the city of Los Alamitos loses control. We give control to the state, to HCD. They take over the city's planning department and approve projects at its discretion, all right? And again, we lose control over that. So, you know, as a city, as a staff person here that, you know, we work here, we understand the culture a little bit, we get a little hesitant about losing control to someone that sits up in Sacramento, okay? So that is it for my presentation. I am here for questions. Again, our consultant, Nicole Chris, is on the line. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we will open it up for public comment. And I got 3 sheets here. And then if you have sheets out there, that's cool. These are just the ones I got before the meeting. And then if you do not have a blue sheet, that's also fine. I would ask that you would please, just for our own records, I have a nice little sign-in sheet up there. There should be a pen available as well that you could sign in for us. So I will start with the first 3 sheets that I have, and then after that, we can just come on up. How many people plan to share this evening? Let me try to get a glorious. Okay. All righty. Okay. So we want to go to 3 minutes?
It's 3 minutes for public hearing, correct?
Okay, great. Okay, so first up will be Adam Wood. No.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff. Adam Wood, as mentioned, Building Industry Association. Thank you for the opportunity to comment tonight. We've done a lot of research on this issue over the last week, and I want to commend staff for giving a fantastic report. What it really comes down to, for us at least when we're reading through this, is it neighbors or strangers making decisions for you? I, before this, had never even heard of ALUC, to be honest with you. Is something that has never been on our radar that we've been involved with. I don't know how you would, if you were an average citizen, go and petition in front of ALUC and get your voice heard. If you want to go and have something changed on your house, everything we covered in the staff report, how do you reach out to those people? I know everybody here knows how to get in touch with all of you. It's clear. And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the local control argument. And it's very concerning to see a situation where that might be lost. And so we're very supportive of taking the override vote. Obviously, for what we do, we're very familiar with all the things that Sacramento are involved with. Having HCD involved and decertifying housing element, that's going to bring a lot of unnecessary attention and, again, further loss of local control. It puts back into play things like builder's remedy, which is definitely something that you want to be very wary of having brought into your city. So there's a litany of reasons, and again, I can't improve much more than what has already been said. So thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have Mark Turco.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. I'm here to speak about item 12A, of course. Along with public safety, one of your most important functions as members of the City Council is preservation of local control and ensuring our residents have a voice in what takes place in our city. I'm very proud to have served on the City Council for many years. One of the primary positions we took in my 5 years on the City Council was always ensuring we do everything we could to preserve local control. That included, opposing housing mandates, opposing the erosion of single-family zoning in our neighborhoods, the release of dangerous prisoners, unfunded mandates from Sacramento, and much, much more. As you all know, unfortunately, the city oftentimes has little power to stop certain aspects of the erosion of local control. This issue is totally different, however. It's not the state trying to erode our local control. Instead, it's the Airport Land Use Commission, the ALUC. ALUC is trying to exert power over this city council and our city residents, even though not one member of ALUC was elected by anyone in Los Alamitos. You can stop them. They're an unelected advisory commission who wants to control what happens here. All you need to do is vote to retain local control by telling them to butt out. This is not like when the state of California passes a mandate and we're powerless. Here you have the power, and you need to take hold of that power. You need 4/5 of the council to approve this vote. To do anything else would make this the only local city to allow another entity to take control away from it. Seal Beach has done this. They've overridden ALUC. Costa Mesa has done it. Newport Beach has done it. Irvine has done it. We would be the only city not to do it. And you would have to face your voters and explain to them why you gave up power and you let other people make the decision for them. Look, this is not about one specific housing project. If you oppose a specific housing project, that's fine. Vote against that specific housing project. But do not capitulate and give away power that our residents deserve to keep. Thank you.
Gary Lowe.
Good evening, Mayor Doby and the City Council. So my name is Gary Lowe, and one of my volunteer positions is serving at the pleasure of the City Council. So there's that. I am just here to give you my opinion, and that is that I'm in support of the overruling of the Airport Land Use Commission's inconsistency with the housing element. And the main two reasons are the ones that Director Noda mentioned today, was basically the housing and community development's decertification, potential decertification of our housing element and losing control, such as controlling density in some of our projects, and also the requirement to have ALEC also review just about everything that we do in the building department and in planning of the city. So with that, I would recommend to do so. And earlier tonight, we talked about airplanes and so forth, and it made me think that I have actually a unique experience when it comes to airport safety. So I got a phone call about 19 years ago. My parents live in Seal Beach, and my brother called me and says, you know what, Gary, our parents just got hit by an airplane. So my parents' house in Seal Beach 19 years ago got, the house was destroyed by an airplane. Not coming from the base. It was going to the Chino airport. My parents, fortunately, were safe, but the house was destroyed. So anyways, that was a unnerving call, but as far as airport safety, I definitely would be attuned to that. But basically, I'm here just to give you my recommendation of the overruling of this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Who's next? I will ask if you're going to come up, we kind of keep it moving. Don't get shy on me, okay?
All right. Well, good evening. My name is Matt Overby. I'm a resident in Los Alamitos. I'm going to be real quick. I 100% agree with all the individuals that spoken, also on the report. I do appreciate, I did email all of you. I did get 3 out of the 5 of you to respond. So when residents do take the time to email you our opinions, we do, we appreciate when you do respond. And we just ask for you to override. Us residents want to keep the rights to the city. Your decisions here. So keep it quick and simple, and thank you very much.
I'm John Lang, and I'm live in Parkwood in Los Alamitos. I think the question I have, Ron, is that with this development near Parkwood on Lamson, okay, I understand completely the idea that we need to have control of our own destiny. But at the same time, I don't feel like that the council is listening to us. We have concerns about safety, public safety with the roads. There doesn't appear to be any communication coming back to the citizens about what is the council doing to protect citizens and to make this development safe. And I think that's really the crux of the concern that a lot of people have tried to express, and we're just not feeling like anybody's listening or that we're getting any feedback. And I think that's the concern that a lot of us have, and if we could get some answers for those issues, like is there going to be a stoplight, or are we going to have just one way out of that development off of Lamson? What about the parking situation? None of these issues have been addressed or at least communicated back to the citizens, and that's really what we want. Regardless of what decision, whether we overrule or don't overrule, is the council going to be understanding and receptive to our concerns and to do something about that? And how can you control that? I think those are really the pertinent issues at hand. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Real quick, Tom Elmanzan, Parkwood Homes, same where John lives. Listening to your July meeting, I thought city attorney said something about, like, no matter how you zoned, like, say, the Lamson project to an R3, I think, what you agreed on, that the developer can build whatever he wants once he gets his permit to build there. If you say an R3's 300 units with appropriate parking, but when they develop it, he decides he wants to put in 700 units. That's what I thought I heard the city attorney say. And that I just needs more clarity on that. Like, who's the boss when that Lamson project, basically that's what, because we live right next door there. Are they going to have control over what they put there? And is that going to be 700 units and whatever they can squeeze in there, or are they going to stick with your R3? So that's a big question, which goes in with John talking about all the problems that are going to be created on Lamson. So that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You want to answer? Okay.
If you'd like, Mayor, I can provide a brief answer to that. I'd first just like to start by reiterating that this consideration of the council tonight is not specific to the Lamson project, that this pertains to the general plan housing element update and the potential to overrule the ALUX inconsistency determination. So I've heard questions tonight about traffic and so forth at a potential development at Lamson. That's not even before the council right now. Those issues would be addressed and considered at a future date when and if an application moves forward to the hearing stages. But to address the questions that were just asked, and perhaps my categorization of facts at the last meeting, if we have an approved certified housing element, which we do at this time, any development of any site listed in that housing element will need to comply with the densities in the zoning listed in that housing element. What we run the risk of by failing to overrule ALUC is that the HCD could decertify our housing element. And if you decertify the housing element, now you're in the realm of a potential builder's remedy application. And under those facts, someone could come in and propose density and development that's inconsistent with the underlying general plan land use categorization. So certified approved housing element that allows for 300 maximum dwelling units on a parcel, that's going to draw the line. That's what the limit is. But if you have a decertified housing element and there's a builder's remedy application under the Housing Accountability Act, they could build at much greater densities than what we've envisioned with our housing element, and the city would have no ability to reject that project based on inconsistency with the underlying general plan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Mayor and council members, my name is Nick Johnson with Johnson Aviation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify here tonight. You have my full technical report and factual analysis of the city's housing element as attachment number 11 to your agenda package. My purpose here tonight is simple. I strongly encourage you to maintain your constitutional power of local control over the city's land use. I'm an aviation safety, airport planning, and airport land use compatibility expert. I have 35 years of professional experience grappling with difficult aviation safety problems and looking for balanced land use compatibility solutions for communities just like yours. I've devoted my practice to serving the interests of improving aviation safety while providing economic prosperity and smart land use decisions to people living near airports. Not only have I worked on airport land use compatibility cases around the country, throughout California, but my work also includes multiple residential cases within Orange County and this ALUC's jurisdiction. The base is one of only 3 airports in Orange County, and yet some of the most densely populated areas of the county are within the airport land use planning areas of these 3 airports. These are not greenfield airports surrounded by farm fields. These are urban communities where people choose to live, work, and play. There's demand for housing today, and it's outstripping our supply. Over 2,500 existing homes and over 10,000 people live close to the base and its flight paths than the nearest housing opportunity sites in your housing element. To be clear, the city's housing element is consistent with the ALUC's objective noise and safety criteria, as you heard from Mr. Nada tonight. The ALUC's professional planners found the same facts in their staff report. On safety, all proposed housing opportunity sites comply with the base's safety clear zones. All sites comply with the FAA's airspace protection areas. On noise, all housing sites comply with the ALUC noise standard, as you also heard from Mr. Nada tonight. What the city's housing element doesn't comply with is the ALUC's view that they know better than you what is in the best interest of the city's land use from their perspective. Their reasoning for this superior knowledge is based on their subjective notion that they have a larger role in the city's land use beyond their adopted plan. Their 3 subjective notions are: first, housing sites are in close proximity to the base; second, housing sites are adjacent to flight tracks; and third, that the ALUC members have expertise in aviation. In my line of work, I know a lot of pilots and a lot of airport managers. Good and smart folks, but they don't necessarily know anything about airport land use compatibility planning and the associated laws and regulations. This lack of ALUC justification expertise is rubber stamped by Caltrans Division of Aeronautics, whose director and planning surprisingly have no background or expertise in aviation safety. I'll close with, as you've heard from others here tonight and from your own staff, I encourage you to maintain your constitutional sovereignty over land use in the city and vote to overrule. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So I want to thank you for your service to our city. I'm here again to remind you that residents appreciate you and all that you do for our city and the residents. There's so much negativity aimed at 3 council members, our mayor Doby, Mayor Pro Tem Nafulda, and Hasselbrink. And I really believe the only reason you are facing negativity is because you are standing firm for the residents of Los Alamitos. And I'm very thankful for what you're doing. We don't want to lose control and give control to ALUC. Murphy and Herbert are pretty new, and I'm a little concerned that you might not vote the right way today. I'm a little concerned that you may not grasp the gravity of this situation for homeowners and residents in the city. So I'm asking you to protect our city and overrule ALUC.
That's my wife, so I figure I better follow her. I didn't plan on speaking tonight. I usually do. I know most of you people. You guys are great. We love our city. All of you guys are great. And I hope that you don't give it up to these people, give up the ship to this ALUC, because you're just giving them the power to, you guys are losing control. I hope that you listen to my wife and other people and vote that way. You know, I'm here to support you guys. You're all good people. Neighbors, some of you people, I recognize you. Thank you, and God bless you. And I hope that you make the right decision tonight. And thank you.
Good evening. I'm here with a little bit of a different view. Mr. Noda, Mr. Simmons, thank you for your scare tactics, your threats. ALUC is not here to control the city. You guys know that. That's not the case. Also, when you do the study report and with Nicole, you guys are one-sided and biased. You're leaving out the information from the base. Personally speaking with the engineer, he claimed that noise with their new solar generators highly does not recommend building homes there. It's just way too loud. He says, you're talking about internally building houses, more walls with cushions or whatever to block it? These people, are they just supposed to live in the cage? When do they get to come outside? Because the noise is too loud, they can't? How fair is that to them? Are they buying these homes blindly? The other thing, you're not losing control with ALUC. They're not here to take over your city. They're here with safety concerns. On that note, one key area that has been left out from day one. Does anybody know pilots in the sense aside from the gentleman that just spoke? Does anybody know the stress that military pilots are under and how many different directions they're being pulled in? They're stressed, they're burnt out. Their lack of sleep is high. Their maintenance people with the planes, their lack of sleep, they're burnt out. They're pulled in many different directions. Point in view, fact. Washington, D.C. has done a study in 2020. They were concerned, quote unquote, military aviation crashes, false lack of training, chronic fatigue. Within 12 months, there were 6,000 airplane injuries and accidents and crashes. What's the problem? What's going on? Through further research, they found there was training cutbacks. And we know, no matter who you voted for, this isn't regarding that, but with our current government, the funds are not going towards our pilots, they're not going towards the military for training. They found that the training cutbacks was a major factors that led to the crashes, threatening future pilots. Numerous students have complained or have completed a rush initial training program where they pushed through follow-through training with less experiences, and even they became instructors and leaders themselves. They learned off simulators. We all know there's a difference between learning off a simulator versus hands-on behind the cockpit and flying. So basically, in a nutshell, there is more serious injuries that you guys need to consider with our pilots are leaving because they're so stressed out and the quality of potential accidents is high. Just one other thing, if I can. In 2022, El Toro, there's a Marine crash in which family members were just recently notified from the Marine Corps. They've been aware of similar engine failures for this plane since 2010, but efforts to fix them ended in 2020. This family lost their dad, the wife lost the husband.
Thank you.
I ask you not to vote for ALOC.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Elizabeth Hansberg with People for Housing. I've been before you on this issue before and just would like to say that we have a housing shortage and we have a lot of people that are in desperate need of housing, from people that are low income all the way up to young professionals who want to buy their first home and stay in Orange County. The state is asking cities to make room. We would rather you be able to decide for yourselves where you want to have that housing, and the way to do that is to maintain your certified housing element. So I would just encourage you and support all of the good work that you did to get your housing element done, to get it into compliance, not to give that up. So I think that the needs of the future are really important and that we need to make room, because we all probably have children that are going to grow up and want to stay in Orange County. And if we want them to have a place to live, we have to build more housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just have a couple short comments. The presentation made by the Planning Department said that if you fail to overrule ALAC, you are basically going to allow them to take over your Planning Department. That statement is absolutely false. I'm going to read you. Now, the reason I state that is because there's a California law, California Public Utilities Code, Section 21676, which is referenced in your package that you have been given by the city staff. I urge you to actually open the law books and read that. You have been given a summary of what it approximately means, but the actual text of the ordinance is valuable to your knowledge base. You have been given the impression that if you overrule ALAC, that they are going to take over your entire city and decide if you need a permit to put a new toilet or a gazebo in your backyard. But the law specifically states that the agency's jurisdiction is limited to areas covered by an airport land use compatibility plan. That is not the entire city boundary. In the report that you were given, the overrule report, there are 3 sites within the entire housing element which ALAC has identified as problematic. They also state that they may be mitigated. There may be ways that the housing proposed for those sites can be provided with adequate soundproofing or height changes or distance from the airport base. So I don't think it's fair for you to conclude that the city's planning department is going to be taken over, because the law does not support that. But I also don't think that the people in this community deserve to receive anonymous letters that provide fear tactics in order to motivate a decision among the city council members. The people in this community deserve to be spoken to by individuals who identify themselves, and you can tell what their financial motives are with regard to putting out anonymous letters. Thank you.
Hello, City Council and all the city employees. I'm Christine Arfwedson. I live in Parkwood, which is directly adjacent to the Lamson project, one of the 3 sites identified by ALAC as problematic, as Carol just identified to you. There is no way that ALAC is interested in controlling your planning department for remodels and toilets and whatever. That is not their function, and you all know it. Anonymous letters sent out with such lies, misinformation, but nobody, no responsible party name on it. Blanketed on Rossmore and Los Alamitos to get people here tonight in fear that they're going to have more problems getting permits. This is solely about 3 sites, and it has to do with density and height, and the project that has been submitted, and it is submitted, City Manager, which you have never told us. Lampton project is submitted. It's been identified as just fine by the city planning department. And that's just like it is, with no eastbound turn, no appropriate parking, no play space. It's too dense, it's too high, and it's unsafe. It's going to create large problems, and it's already been approved behind public eyes. Okay? Wasn't transparent. We know it's been approved. Freedom of Information Act really gives you a bird's eye view into what's going on that isn't told. And we stand here trying to get, more parking, safety, and lights so that kids can cross the street. That's not even on the table. And you let us stand here and give us the impression you're listening like it matters. We aren't stupid. Some of us know how to get information that you are not wanting the public to know, the residents whose lives directly will be affected. And ALUC is there saying, it's too dense, it's too high, and height means more sound. And what is the problem with having ALUC work with the developers to get something safe? They are concerned about public safety. End of sentence.
Thank you. All done?
Good evening. Thank you for having us and with this discussion. Hold on. A couple things real quick. There was that anonymous letter that went out. A lot of falsehoods. Pretty cowardly not to put a name on it. Whoever sent that out probably is listening today. Some misinformation. My questions are, have we had a conversation with ALUC to see if they plan on figuring out whether they're going to do ADUs and they want to take over the planning department? That'd be a question that I would ask. Did we talk to ALUC about that? Is that their intention? Because I've seen consultants out here. I've seen supporters of investors and developers out here in the crowd, in the community. And I know there's an agenda there, right? But I'd like to have those conversations with ALUC and figure out what their intentions are, okay? Because I'm going to tell you, I hear a lot of the presentation was a lot of possibles. There was a lot of possibles. I don't like possibles. I want to know what the circumstance is. So we give out possibles and we put out stuff. We just tell, hey, this is what's going to happen. That's the belief that we hear out here. So I think some of this is making assumptions that we don't know. I think the fact is we're assuming that all those units are going to get totally wiped off the housing element, and that doesn't seem like what is going to happen. Would they work with HCD, ALUC, to say what's compatible, what's not? Am I not in support of 77 affordable housing units? I'm in support of that. They should build them there, right? But they should do it the right way and make sure that it's safe, make sure that the noise is safe for the people moving in there. So I think ALUC, their opportunity is to work with the city and HCD to make sure that it's done right and it's not overly dense, too high, where it's not safe for the residents moving in, and it's not safe for the, and one other thing that we haven't talked about tonight is that Cal OES, right? We just went through, we won't call it a hurricane, it was a tropical storm, right? It's one of 3 regional spots is at Los Alamitos, okay? There was an earthquake the same day, right? If I'm worried about airport encroachment on top of that. If we're gonna be encroaching on the airports, and they're gonna have to, if we have a major disaster, that is gonna be, for Southern California, one of the major areas, which is JF2B. So we haven't even talked about the fact that we should let ALUC come in so they can talk about airport operations and think about how is that going to impact that. Because, yeah, I'm a Steel Beach resident, right? But I live right across the street. Is that going to impact me if there's a major disaster and we're not worried about any kind of safety on keeping operations open in the flight path? That concerns me. Thank you.
Hello, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Nafulda, and City Council. I'm Randy Hill. I live in Los Alamitos, and I would like to say that I think if we do have a mandate to build housing, or to at least plan for housing, and if we're going to build housing in our city, which we're required to do, I think Lamson is perhaps the safest place in our city where we can do it. The least impactful in terms of traffic and safety, and in terms of quality of life for the residents of Los Alamitos. The only developer's remedy that can happen to us is if we fail to overturn ALUC. We have already learned tonight, thanks to Mr. Noda, that there are other areas of the city that already have a louder sound DBA than this would be, than any of these areas would be a part of. So, you know, that would, we've built thousands of houses that are already impacted by this greater than what we're going to do. So I would say the fear tactics that we've heard are pretty incredible, especially since they accuse you of that. And the outside noise is pretty loud. But if we don't use these locations, where will we build? Where will we put these houses? Where's a better place? Name a safer place. Name a less impactful place. We already have thousands of homes in these areas. Thank you.
Hello, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm David Green, and I'm a resident of Los Al. A few months ago, you created a housing element plan and had it approved by the state to maintain your local control. So it only seems reasonable to me, anyway, to continue that process of maintaining local control by doing an override. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for hearing me. My name is Brett Rogers. I've been a resident of Los Alamitos since 1961. And so I'd just like to look at all our options and, like some of the other people that spoke, you know, look into the laws, look into all the avenues. But I know I don't like the state of California and our Governor Newsom that's trying to bully us. Los Alamitos and the residents. I mean, we've got to stand up, you know, and Gavin Newsom was trying to, you know, making a big stink about Trump trying to bully us from federal government monies. So we need to stand up for our city and stop the bullying. I don't think we need more housing or affordable housing or any housing, because we don't have enough water, we don't have enough sewage, there's too much traffic. So what do we want to be, like New York? You know, and they're trying to force us into electric cars, autonomous cars. We got to stand up. before it's too late. Thank you.
We're done? All right. So we will close the public comments, and I will bring it to council, if council has any questions or comments. And I would ask that we move with the same expediency that I asked our residents to move with, please. Nobody? All right. Well, there are a few things that I would like to clarify since my colleagues don't have anything to share. As far as the housing shortage, that is irrelevant to me personally. I cannot speak for anybody else. And the reason it's irrelevant to me is because I don't have a say in it. HCD decided that our region was to build 1.3 million units. Now, SCAG, which is the Southern California Association of Governments, actually requested 700,000 for our region because in the last two RENA cycles, it was 400,000 and then 500,000. And because there is this big push, we need more units. So they were like, cool, we'll go to 700,000. But HCD overruled SCAG and said the region is 1.3. And then they pushed it all down to us. So I don't get a say in whether or not I build. The only say I have is where. That's it. And my barrier to that is the overriding of ALUC, which some have said they are an advisory committee. I could be on ALUC if we didn't already have a representative that represented our area. So it's not that they have any more information. I'm on mosquitoes and vectors. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm an expert on mosquitoes. All I know is what they tell me. So ALUC, what they know is what they're told. Okay, this is a state mandate. That's it. That's the bottom line. Any monies, we just got $3 million in state funding. 2.5 from our senator, 500,000 from our congresswoman. We were only eligible because we have a certified housing element. If our housing element becomes decertified, we are at risk of losing $3 million that we could use for infrastructure, that we could use to help rebuild, fix our holes, do all of the things in our city that we don't want to have to go out to y'all to do. We don't want to have to get a GoFundMe for our city. Now, because it's a state mandate, I asked around, and someone finally told me that if we become decertified and if we get a builder's remedy, you know who doesn't have to get ALUC's approval? That builder. So my problem with not overriding ALUC is I'm the only one that has to do it. This is my city. The only control I have left is to override them because anybody else that comes in here won't have to. So that's why, with my full authority, and with all the sincerity in my being, I would absolutely override ALUC. Now, I think we've had enough input from our residents. We've had people to write in. We've had people to come in. Thank you, everybody, for your sharing. We are absolutely listening. And then one last thing, to someone's point, the actual project that gets presented to us, the only way that we have input is if we have control of the project. So we can say we want a light. We can say you can only build this many. We can say you need another entrance or you need another exit. That's the only way we get to say. Otherwise, we do not. So Fran, you had your time. What we're not gonna do is that, okay? Not doing that on this good night. So, with that all being said, your city does have your very best in mind. I can assure you of that. I spend more time in meetings than I spend with my own family sometimes. I'm on a committee that is a policy committee to SCAG, which is Community Economic Development and Human. I don't even know what the acronym stands for, but it has to do with housing. Okay, and what I know is that HCD is actually on the hook right now. We've got legislation being written to them because they have to redo the way that they give us numbers. All of us are upset, everybody's fighting it, but we have to go through certain channels. We can't fight them in this room, and we can't fight them by taking our power away from ourselves. There's ways to do it, and y'all, I'm doing it the best that I can. There is a survey. Wendy, I'm gonna get it to you because I would like it placed on our website. HCD is still looking for what they're considering their input until about September 7th. Please write in. Please take their survey. Please let them know. And then reach out to our legislators. Our senator is Janet Nguyen. Our congresswoman is Michelle Steele. Let them know that HCD has to be reined in. They are running completely unchecked. And then the last thing, I have to apologize because I misspoke when I said that SCAG was the one that gave us our number. They were not. They requested 700,000 for our region. HCD said 1.3, stamped it, and now all of us cities are scrambling trying to figure out how to make it happen. Now, with all of that being said, I think we could take a vote. I'm ready for it. I feel like I've waited my whole life for this. So,
I'd like to clarify something first. Mr. Johnson provided, public statement earlier in support of overruling ALUC, and I thought it was interesting because I was reviewing his letter that he, submitted that made its way into our agenda. And so one of the things that I did when I was reading our agenda this weekend, I was looking into the FAA, and it's public record that, Mr. Johnson submitted documents to the FAA on behalf of the Lamson project. And that stood out to me because one of the things that I feel is very important is transparency. And I'll reference on page 509 of the agenda for Mr. Doubt. It says, further, my independent analysis demonstrates that the city's housing element is consistent, and he goes on. And I wanted to state that for the public because that letter's not independent. It was on January 26, 2022 that he filed with the FAA form 7460-1, which is the notice to build, notice of construction. And I would have appreciated if in that letter he would have stated that he's with the developers, and he didn't. And that's been my experience on council, is there's a lot of that. The anonymous letter that went out, the timing was perfect. Did that come from the city? Can you clarify if that letter came from the city?
No, it did not.
Thank you. I received several emails from residents in the city thinking that letter came from the city, and it didn't come from the city. It was meant to confuse. It talks about losing local control. ALUC is not coming in. They're not taking in our city. They're not taking over. Fear is not a factor in my life. I'm not a fearful person. So when I read these allegations that things like our housing element might be overturned, or someone might come in and submit a builder's remedy application, I like to look for the details, and I haven't found that. And my vote today will reflect that. And things might not come to light tonight. You might not like the vote tonight, but the truth will prevail. And I want to share that with the residents, that the truth will prevail.
I just had one comment or one question. On page 284, there was a graph that states from Los Alamitos source in 2015, and this was a review of, I'm assuming, vehicle noise. Is that what it is? The roadway, Los Alamitos Boulevard, Catella Avenue, Cerritos Avenue. Was that a study done for the vehicle noise on those streets?
That's the general plan noise analysis.
Okay. Was there a study done for aviation noise for certain community members or residents who are closer to the airport base of Joint Forces Training Base? Was there ever a study done? Because I know there's a difference in aviation noise versus road noise. I live in College Park North, and I have road noise, and it wouldn't affect me as much as I assume that aviation or aircraft noise would. So was there any community outreach to the different neighborhoods throughout the city in regards to noise annoyances that may affect them?
The noise analysis would necessarily, ma'am, have included noise, because measurements were taken at different locations. Where those locations occurred near the airport, they would have included aircraft noise if aircraft noise occurred during the measurement. But noise measurements cannot extract aircraft noise versus traffic noise, for example. It's the total noise environment at that location.
And was there any community outreach or communication or surveys to any of the residents in the different communities of Los Alamitos to confirm if there are certain annoyances of noise that may affect them more?
During the general plan preparation process, ma'am?
Just in reference to this source that was on page 284 for 2015, during that time until the present, has there been any studies or community outreach or any type of communication with different residents to confirm what annoyances they have? Because there's some people who may live closer to the base and may be having more annoyance from the aircrafts versus, like I said, myself, who lives further from the base, and my annoyance is most likely is going to be the road. So was there any studies for the community to see what affects them most?
So just to clarify, ma'am, you're asking in 2015 when we did this general plan noise assessment, was there community outreach or a community survey done?
That's one of my questions, yes.
Okay.
And
Yes. Yeah, so
Not a survey where we put together a survey monkey type page or something like that. We had outreach to people on all the elements of the general plan. One of the larger elements is actually noise, and people have a right to talk about that during any of the discussion things. The things that they found were a problem in this town had nothing to do with the noise. It was more to do with code enforcement, needing code enforcement, and things like that. So the noise assessment is part of the general plan, and when we worked on the general plan, yes, there was outreach to the city, to the residents about noise.
Okay, and then this graph that you have listed, it is a combination of vehicle, aircraft, and other noises. It's not exclusive to any one noise? On page 284?
it's this one.
I
So
believe
yes,
you're-
when they measure the sound decibel or CNEL, yes, it would be any noise that is brought forth, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's someone playing their stereo, whether it's an aircraft, correct?
Okay, and is there any updated survey that's been completed since this was almost 8 years ago?
Not by us, but by the base. The base in 2000
22.
And is that,
did a study of the base and found that these sites are not within the 60 to 65 decibel range. They're actually lower than that.
and that's in regards to this noise level graph that's provided on page 284?
No, so this graph that you are referring to, I believe, it's the one that I had in my PowerPoint presentation here.
Correct.
It just shows some examples of noise in the city, right? So again, that's Los Al Boulevard, Cattell, and Cerritos. So the one that Tom is referring to was an updated map that shows what the military, the Joint Forces Training Base, did in their study to do the sound attenuation around the airfield.
Okay, so that's
does not include
not
these
include this.
streets.
Okay, that's what I wanted to confirm. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your clarification.
Another comment I wanted to make, I'm an advocate of local control for all of the reasons that our neighbors shared this afternoon. And I wanted to read something. This is from ALUC, and it says, if anyone likes our agenda, page 454, it's referring to the Public Utilities Code, and it says, the commission may require that the local agency submit all subsequent actions, regulations, and permits to the commission for review until its general plan or specific plan is revised. So being that there's 3 problematic sites on our housing element, either unsafe or loud, the revision of that housing element, if those 3 sites were to be removed and submitted back to ALUC, would get the green light, and we're back to normal for those of you that have that particular concern.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. We have a certified housing element, certified by the state. They did not see fit to get ALUC's approval before they did it. So that again begs the question, why do I have to? I'm already certified. I'm working backwards. And, we're talking about, we don't like, well, what if and what if? They may require. City manager, can you tell me, are there any other sites? Because I know the answer, but just for the benefit of our listeners, can you please tell us about, encapsulate the exhaustive.
The housing element was a process that was built over, 2 years at this point. Involved much back and forth with HCD as to what exactly would be an acceptable site. As mentioned during the housing element approval process, we did a lot of outreach. We tried to put houses and units on the base itself. We tried to put them in multiple different areas. The problem that I think a lot of cities are facing in Orange County is specifically is they cannot convince HCD that these are actually developable sites. The reason that we landed on the sites that are currently within our housing element is because we could prove that they could be developed. And that is why we have a certified housing element. In the event that we were to remove those 3 sites, we would have to re-site, as Mr. Notice said, those almost 400 units to other locations throughout the city, and then be able to demonstrate that they actually are developable again to HCD. So essentially, we would be starting the process over again in order to work through and get ourselves a housing element. So it would be very cumbersome. It would be incredibly difficult. I know a number of cities around us are simply having trouble actually getting to that final number at the end of the day. So I have to hand it to our planning staff for taking those sites, finding them different locations throughout the city in order to ensure that we weren't overly burdening one neighborhood versus trying to spread them out and essentially spread them throughout the city.
Okay, and then if you wouldn't mind, if you could just give us, again, for our listeners here, just a snippet of the conversations that you've had with both ALUC and HCD specifically, because please rest assured that we have spent a lot of time on the phone with them both.
And I'm going to ask the city attorney to clarify some of the comments that were made, because there was a couple that I think we take issue with. That one being that ALUC has asserted that in the event that we do not override, that they will expect us to submit all of our items that are listed within the law for their approval. That has been reiterated to us. Also, that HCD has told us that in the event that we do not override, they will start the process of decertification. So these are items that are written in law. It's a function of if A, then B. So these are things that will happen, they're not questions of if they will happen, they will happen. The only real issue out there that is, I think, an unknown at this point is, will someone take advantage of the builder remedy option that is out there in the event that we are decertified? That's a large unknown because it takes into account what a developer will want to do. My concern is not just one site. My concern is the entire city. If we are decertified, it essentially opens up anyone who owns a piece of property currently who wants to develop, as long as they're meeting the minimum standards, to actually submit for a builder's remedy, which again takes the power out of the council's hands in order to actually decide what goes onto those sites. So again, these aren't questions at this point. These are just facts, and that have been reiterated not only through our own legal team, but have been also reiterated to us for HCD and ALOC. So again, the next steps of these do have impacts, one way or the other.
Would developers also have to go through the ALEC if it's overruled?
No.
I'm sorry, to Mr. Simmons. I
So,
apologize.
and the answer to that, and again, I'll ask our consultant Nicole to step in if I go off my rails here, but the answer is no. Those decisions will be made by HCD, and HCD will be the determining factor with regards to what gets built and what doesn't get built through the builder remedy process.
And just so y'all don't think I was trying to cut Chet off, I actually asked that meeting in a SCAG meeting with an HCD rep, and they told me specifically no, because it's a state mandate.
Mayor, with all this being said, and in keeping consistent with what I promised my residents I would do when I first sat in the seat 9 years ago, to represent their best interest and the future of local control, I would like to make the motion to overrule the ALEC ruling.
I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
There's been some comments here that I just want to make sure that we're clear. I know we can't be talking about noise, right? Because they're saying we fall closer to the 65 dB level. We're saying we're closer to the 60. But in any event, when it comes through to process a permit, in order to be built, it has to get down to 45 dBs, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we can't be talking about the interior noise. Somebody brought up the fact that, well, will these people be able to go outside and enjoy life? You know, about 3 or 4 years ago, my kids were playing soccer. For about 4 to 5 years, I coached soccer every day, on the park that sits what would be closer to the base than this housing development. Nobody says AYSO, shouldn't be playing there because noise levels are too loud for children. If I'm not mistaken, there's a dog park that people go to every single day. So I know we're not talking about noise when we're considering the vote to override ALEC or not. It's almost like we're, what do they say? We're cutting off our nose to spite our face, right? We want to, if you're voting to not override ALEC, you're actually doing more damage to the local community because then you're taking our rights away. Okay, so I just want to make that clear, and I'm perfectly supporting the override.
Is that a second?
That's a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Hasselbrink, a seconded by Councilmember Nofolda to adopt Resolution 2023-20. We'll do a roll call vote. Mayor Doby?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nofolda?
Aye.
Councilmember Hasselbrink?
Aye.
Councilmember Hibbert?
No.
Councilmember Murphy?
No.
Wow.
This item did require a 4/5 vote, so it does fail.
You know what? I owe y'all an apology, and I'm gonna give it to you right now. Because one of these people, I appointed. So I apologize. You will get your opportunity to vote for the person that represents your area. All right.
That's right, friend. You'll be able to do that.
So can we go to discussion item 13? Is that what's next?
Yes, we're up to item 13A, which is Los Alamitos Senior Transportation Program. I would advise we wait a few moments for
You just lost control of your seat.
anyone who would like to leave.
Nicole?
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk.
Hey, y'all, I got more meeting to go through, so if you're wanting to stay, I invite you to stay and hang out, but if you would like to take this moment to exit, please feel free. Oh, yeah, that's whatever. All right. So everyone else still in seats is wanting to stay, I take it?
No. Old or new Dutch Haven? Oh, new Dutch Haven? That would be me. Behind Starting Gate? Yeah, that's my district. Thank you.
And I wanted to know if all of this removal is due to like the housing projects, not personal family housing, right? Like what was in that letter?
We can talk to you right after, Fran. I got so much more meeting to get through.
Okay.
But if you want to hang out, we can answer your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tom. All right, so we've got discussion item 13, the Los Alamitos Senior Transportation Program. Can I get a staff report?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. The goal of this presentation is to bring to council's consideration a conceptualization of a future senior transportation program, one which would provide residents of Los Alamitos aged 50 and older a safe, free, and convenient transportation option to get around town. This comes as a result of recent efforts by staff to increase the senior programming, in addition to a sample senior survey that was conducted by staff in March of 2022, of which 11 of the respondents indicated a need for transportation services. In a vibrant community like Los Alamitos with multiple senior offerings and community events, you may think that all seniors have the opportunity to feel connected. What you might not see are the seniors who do not attend because they don't have the means of transportation to participate in these wonderful programs and events. They don't have family or friends who can drive them, or they can no longer drive themselves to take care of basic necessities like grocery shopping and healthcare appointments. They may feel isolated and alone. So the goal of this program is to reach those seniors and to make it possible for them to be engaged in their community, to get their health care and other necessities met, and to increase their quality of life in Los Alamitos. Staff has prepared a potential program outline using the following structure: transportation services for Los Alamitos residents aged 50 and over, both medical and non-medical needs, such as hair appointments, shopping trips, dining, participation in recreational activities, all within the city limits. An initial 3-day per week, 7-hour per day service with the possibility of future expansion. A fixed route with a minimum number of stops along the 2 major transportation corridors of Los Al Boulevard and Catella, including a stop at the Los Alamitos Community Center, again with the possibility of future expansion and partnership with neighboring cities and communities. The program would be facilitated by a contracted service provider specializing and experienced in senior transportation, who would handle the vehicle, the maintenance, the driver, and the scheduling. Additionally, city staff support would be required to cover administrative duties such as the contract administration, vendor oversight and renewal, insurance, marketing, initial registration and signups for our senior participants, and also working with potential community partners for expansion of services. Based on our initial cost estimates, the program would start at $234,377 annually to include both the vendor costs and staffing costs. And it's recommended that council discuss and provide staff with direction on next steps. If a program such as this is approved, a formal RFP would be required for vendor selection. Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of senior transportation. Would make my heart very happy to get our seniors not just to medical appointments and doctor's offices and pick up prescriptions, but then to also do those things like getting their hair done, getting their nails done, making a, run over to Target, because is it still the collaboration between the 3 municipalities, or is it just us getting our own transportation?
That would be a potential expansion. We're in talks with the neighboring communities to see if they are interested in collaborating, yes.
Okay. All righty. Anybody got questions, comments?
No, just my 2 cents. From personal experience, my grandmother lived in Palm Springs by herself, and I am a firm believer that she lived until 97 years old, because every day that senior shuttle came and picked her up and took her to a beloved senior center. She had a reason to get up in the morning. She had a reason to go see people. The shuttle actually turned into a little social network also. The shuttle rides to and from. I think we take extremely good care of our children and our youth, and by de facto, we take good care of our parents. I think we're missing the boat when it comes to our seniors, and not wanting to admit that I'm in that age range, but I am. I want to make sure I have a ride to and from to get my hair done. I just think this is just a great idea. I mean, even to the fireworks show on the base, they're not going to drive over on the base to see the fireworks show, but would they want to see the fireworks show? Absolutely, something to look forward to. So I don't think there's any downside to this. I just think it's, once again, taking care of our residents.
Thank you for your presentation. I would just say I agree with my colleagues. I'm in total favor of this program. Thank you.
So go get it. Right? Is that what you needed, direction? Go get the senior transportation program, please. Anything else? I need to do anything more formal than that?
And all future items will come back to council for a vote.
Glorious. All righty. Next, we have some special orders of the day. We have some council member requested agenda items. The first is a city attorney scope of services. During the April 17th, 2023 regular meeting, Councilmember Murphy made a motion requesting that the city council discuss the scope of services provided by City Attorney Doubt. Councilmember Hibbard supported the motion. No vote was taken on the motion. The informational staff report is the first step in the 2-step process for placing items on the agenda for consideration by the council. Staff report.
Since this is the first time that we've actually gone through this, I just wanted, you did actually a great job of reiterating the rules, so I don't think I need Wendy to say what exactly the next steps are, but I will note that there is a response from Attorney Michael Doubt as an attachment to the staff report.
Great, okay. I printed out several copies, which I'll give to Wendy at the end of the meeting, so she can go ahead and put it for public request if they should have some in the future. So I do have some concerns, and specifically in respect to the 4655 Lamson project and Mr. Doubt. So I want to just discuss if whether Mr. Doubt, the city attorney, failed to comply with any ethical rules or professional conduct, or violated the Business and Professions Code relating to maintaining client confidentiality, failure to provide informed consent. Mr. Doubt, the city attorney, failed to make the city aware of material and circumstances relevant to his representation of Les Johnson, who was the former city manager, and his current representation of the city as it pertains to zoning ordinances and housing element discussions that could adversely impact the city and members of the community, as well as their decisions. 3, failure to decline representation upon determination of the persons and issues involved. Former city manager of Los Alamitos, Les Johnson, and special treatment of the zoning ordinance and housing element update. Number 4, establishment of previous client-lawyer relationship and continued relationship. He represented and advised Les Johnson as the former Los Alamitos city manager and continued discussions with Les Johnson, who is currently employed with a development company, T&B Planning, that was hired by KB Home Coastal to assist in developing the proposed Lamson project in the city. And 5, a breach of the duty of loyalty to his current client, the city, by undertaking representation that may directly be adverse to the city without the city's informed consent. Members of the public and the city council are reasonably concerned that Michael Doubt, the city attorney, is not representing the city effectively and with impartiality, advising the city council, city officers, and planning commission as it relates to the zoning ordinance and housing element of the proposed Lamson project.
I would like to clarify that Councilmember Murphy can speak for herself, but not the entirety of the council on whether or not there are concerns as to the performance of Michael Doubt in any of his abilities or job functions. Was there anybody else that wanted to?
Madam Mayor, I do believe you received a speaker card that wanted to speak on this item as well. I think it was Mark Churko.
Yes, okay. Sorry, we usually do our.
No worries. I wasn't sure
Yes,
if you were
first.
taking comment, as it's not listed as a public hearing. But in any case, I saw this item on the agenda. I found it strange. I am a practicing attorney of 19 years. I dealt with Attorney Doubt for 5 years, and of the thousands of attorneys that I've ever dealt with in my career, he is one of the finest, if not the finest attorney I have ever dealt with. He is ethical. He is intelligent, he is practical, he is rational. We never had one issue with him in my years on the city council. And this irrational fear and distrust of everyone is leading you both to become ineffective council members and to damage your city, just like you did with that vote a few minutes ago. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'll make a couple comments. First of all, Les Johnson was not our city manager. He acted in interim for a very short amount of time, but he's not our city manager. And Michael Doubt did not represent Les Johnson. He represented the city of Los Alamitos, as he always had. Les Johnson did not go straight from the city of Los Alamitos to this developer. He stopped over at Seal Beach for a while. And I confirm everything that's been said about the integrity and the reputation of Michael Doubt. I haven't met a more straight and narrow guy, an honest guy, and the fact that this is being made in public to question his ethics is a big deal in the legal world. And I'm just curious as to why we want to bring up a man's reputation when there's never been any question about it for the council that were sitting at the time where both Les Johnson and Michael Doubt were there. Why now is all of a sudden there an ethical issue brought by somebody who wasn't there at the time when all this was going on? So Michael Doubt represents the city of Los Alamitos. He has since 2017. He excels at his job, and he has a reputation throughout the legal world and also throughout cities of his amazing practice.
I feel compelled also. You know, I've been a practicing attorney for 18 years, and all of my dealings with Mr. Doubt have been nothing but professional. Nothing leads me to believe that I don't even know if he likes to have any fun, to be honest with you. He's just always so professional and straight-laced. So he's got my full support, and I just want to make that known publicly.
And to be clear, Michael is not only a general municipal law expert, but he is also a land use expert. So he is exactly who should be providing the city council legal advice relating to building and land use, which is ironically why he is being impugned now. So all right, this is uncharted territory for me.
So this staff report is getting, would require council consensus for staff to use any more resources to further investigate this claim. So the motion tonight would be for council to direct staff to bring forward another staff report, or to direct staff not to.
Can I direct staff to never do it again? Unless there is a consensus across the board that we actually find an issue. I can't imagine Googling this man's name and this stuff coming up. I find it reprehensible because he's done absolutely nothing. I've actually asked about him in some of the meetings that I've sat in recently, and everyone they say that he is almost too straight-laced. I actually, on a personal note, reached out to him for some help with the contract, thinking, I was naive, he can help me. He said, no, I am the attorney for the entirety of the council. I can give you a recommendation. I offered to pay him on the low because I know him and I don't know anybody else. And he still was like, no, I represent your entire council. So please tell me, is there a way that I can provide some level of protection, if you will, for our staff that are actually doing an exemplary job, whether we all realize it or not? That's the motion. You give me that one because that's the one that I want to give you right back.
So the item for tonight's agenda is only specific to the motion made by Councilmember Murphy.
Okay, well, give me that one then.
So you would like to make a motion not to support the request?
I make a motion not to support the request.
I'll second.
And being all in favor?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
How do you abstain to something?
Okay, it's getting late. We just gonna chug on along. Next is B. Councilmember requested agenda item citywide trash receptacle project. During the April 17, 2023 regular meeting, Councilmember Hibbard made a motion to bring forward an item to discuss reallocation of funds from the 2023-2024 capital improvement program, citywide trash receptacles project, to the police department. Councilmember Murphy supported the motion. No vote was taken on the motion. This informational staff report is the first step in a two-step process, replacing items of the agenda for consideration by the council. Can I get a staff report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This we did have some background on because it was a CIP project which has been loaded into the staff report. As you can see, the appropriation of $250,000 was a placeholder for the city to enact changes required under the state mandate SB 1383, which requires us to change the way that we do recycle and waste here in town. You'll note in the staff report that there is an outline of the various items that would be changed with regards to this money. It's also important to note that this will be the first step in the process, much like the senior transportation program. All of these would have to be RFP'd and then brought back to the City Council for consideration. And with that, I'll turn it over to the requesting council member.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. This is short and sweet. I've prepared a short statement just to give a little bit of background. I know this is an odd request of a reallocation. I grew up in the East LA suburb of Downey and spent much of my childhood and young adult life in South Central Los Angeles, where my family's business had been since the 1940s. Before I was old enough to get a driver's license, a friend was shot and killed during a drive-by shooting just a little ways down from our business. After that, somebody was murdered at our business. The investigators came and did what they needed to do, then left, leaving the dried pool of blood on the ground for us to clean. All these years later, I can still picture it. During the 1992 Watts riots, my dad put a bulletproof vest and a helmet on me and told me that it was my job to run around with a garden hose and put out the fires that started after each Molotov cocktail was thrown at us. More recently, I was robbed coming out of a bank. I wanted to share this little bit of personal history this evening because to me, LaSalle is the promised land. I'm beyond grateful to live in a safe community, and I have our LaSalle police to thank. Over the past couple of years, under the leadership of Chief Claiborne, the department is flourishing. I recently had the opportunity to attend my first police academy graduation, where I witnessed the graduate signing his employment contract with LaSalle on the back of another officer at the graduation ceremony. We have a school resource officer, as you saw earlier, Officer Berkey, helping ensure our kids are safe when they're at school. A volunteer program is getting started and to further engage the community. E-bike safety trainings are being provided, and soon hopefully we'll be adding a canine unit and motor patrol. when I saw that $250,000 was earmarked for these trash cans, it didn't sit well with me. I don't believe that my motion will pass tonight, but I couldn't sit by and watch this and be silent. So I believe our police department is far more deserving of these funds than trash cans. So with that, I move to reallocate the $250,000 in the adopted 23-24 budget from the trash cans to the police department.
Okay. Chief, was there a budget request that you made that was denied by the city manager?
No, ma'am.
Okay, city manager, was there any police or public safety related items that were denied by the Budget Standing Committee?
No, ma'am.
So all of the requests made by the police department or those that were public safety related were approved with our last approved budget?
That is correct, ma'am. I'll say that the chief and I have a fairly aligned vision of where exactly we could take public safety in this town, and I'm thankful to have such a forward-thinking partner who not only is innovative, but also has found ways to go out and actually find those funds outside the city. He did mention that we are having one of our officers paid for, or half of an officer paid for by a tobacco grant, but he's also going above and beyond to find a way to fund an additional officer, taking us to 25 with 100% funding. And then also he and I are in talks, which will be shared with the Budget Standing Committee and then the council, to actually exceed that and go for number 26 through placing another officer on another county task force. So I, again, appreciate his ingenuity and also the different ways that he goes about trying to find ways to pay for it. I also forgot to mention he also was able to find money through an OWASI grant to actually provide a second piece of armor for West County SWAT that will actually reside here in Los Alamitos.
So between the chief's resourcefulness and the budget that was approved, everything was taken care of for our PD?
At this moment, we don't have any new requests.
Okay, great. Were there any other comments or questions regarding this item specifically? Oh, you said you had
I've
some.
got a couple questions. Do you know who coined the term fancy trash cans? Because that's what's out in the community, that we're spending $250,000 for fancy trash cans.
I believe it was first mentioned by Carol Churchill.
Okay. Were any questions asked by my colleagues about what exactly those trash cans were, as they were part of a state mandate that's been implemented 5 years ago that we have to spend in order to be compliant with that state mandate? That they were not in turn decorative fancy trash cans?
I don't believe any questions were directed to me. However, I believe there was a question directed to Deputy City Manager Noda with regards to where exactly that money was or what exactly it was to pay for.
So what my colleague is suggesting is we take money from a state mandated program that we are required to implement. We've already implemented it with the businesses. And we move it over to the police department, who has just said that they have all of their needs met. And the same person voted no on our budget and now wants to fix the budget. And this was never brought up during the budget cycle. So I'm just confused as to what changed. That'd be to you. That's a question for you.
At this moment, there hasn't been a change. We are continuing to move forward with all the hirings that were put forth within the state budget, or I'm sorry, in the city budget. And we were continuing to prepare the RFP that will ultimately go out in order to get these trash receptacles in place in order to make sure that we meet the SB 1331 mandate.
Okay, so that question was for my colleague, and she did not answer, so sometimes silence is more powerful than words.
So the bottom line is the funding amount that was approved was so that the city can meet the requirements of, it's not just a mandate, it's an unfunded mandate, which means the onus is on the city to make sure that it goes through. So this funding will come back to City Council for approval and RFPs once they've been conducted for citywide trash receptacle program. So I think it's important to note, it's not just a mandate, it's an unfunded mandate, which means we don't know how much it's going to cost. So sometimes you aim a little higher, and our expectation, which typically speaking, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, we come in under budget. But if we lock ourselves into a lower number, then we have to go through all of these other hoops and hurdles to start back over again. But you correct me if I'm incorrect.
Staff is very much a under promise, over deliver kind of crew. So yes, you are correct.
Okay, great. Were there any other share points regarding this before you give me what my motion is? No? Okay.
If I understand correctly, it would be a similar motion. You would like to not move forward.
I would, yes, like to make a motion to not move forward.
I'll second.
And this is all in favor?
All in favor?
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? I can't hear, so.
Councilmember Hibbert, I didn't hear a vote for you.
Abstain.
All right. Now, we have some council announcements. At this time, council members may also report on items not specifically described on the agenda that are of interest to the community, provided no action or discussion is taken except to provide staff direction to report back or to place the item on a future agenda. So we will start with Councilmember Murphy.
Nothing to report.
All right, Councilmember Hibbert.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got 8 things, and I will be brief. Let's see. I'd like to say that it was lovely meeting so many residents this past weekend. Because of the rain, I was driving around Apartment Row in the Highlands and Parkwood, making sure that the storm drains were draining properly. Apparently, I wasn't the only one concerned because several neighbors were also standing out checking the storm drain. So to those neighbors that I met out there, it was lovely to meet you. Number 2, on July 20th, I attended the Poolside LoSal Chamber event at Westmont Senior Living and had the opportunity to meet many of our small business owners. I'm a small business owner myself, so I'm biased. So congratulations to Tony and the Chamber for another successful event. On July 25th, I attended the Regional Military Affairs Committee meeting on the base. We had Brigadier General Jeffrey Smiley, who oversees the California National Guard, provide an update on the expanded operations expected at the base over the next several years. On July 31st, I attended the LaSalle High Football Boosters event. Coach Fenton and his team are doing a great job. They've got a great group of guys this year, and I'm excited to see what they'll accomplish. On August 9th, I attended a free webinar on Financial Data Transparency Act, and that was very informative. Coming up this past Friday, I attended LaSalle's first football game. They won. Way to go, Coach Fenton. Coming up this Friday, I'll be attending a training entitled Public Policymakers Academy, The Art of Being an Effective Council Member. And if there's anyone watching this who would like me to report back on anything specific, please email me at ehibbert@cityoflosalamitos.org. And lastly, coming up on September 16th, I'll be attending the Celebrate LoSal event that we had a staff report earlier this evening. I'll be participating in the 5K race, and will be bringing several of my World War II and Korean War veterans from the Highlands to get recognized later that evening. Thank you.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Nafolda.
Just report that I attended both OC Sanitation District meetings, and I forgot the notes I was going to report, but I think visually you can see that the construction is moving further and further away from the cities, which is a good sign, so that's all I have.
Councilmember Hasselberg?
Nope, I only have one thing to report, and it's a happy note. I would like to wish our very own Kenny Brandenberry a happy 85th birthday, which will be happening on Wednesday. And if everybody's so inclined to go to the American Legion and belly up to the bar next to him about 4 o'clock, he will be there. You can't miss him. He's Elvis. And he is the one that kickstarted our K-9 program. and he gives and gives and gives and gives to this community. So happy 85th, and we'll see you around at 90.
Very good. I attended my mosquito and vector control district meeting. The one thing I want to share is that year-round flea control is now being recommended due to flea-borne typhus. So some of the recommendations were feed your animals inside so that the food is not shared with outside animals. Flea eggs can live for up to 150 days before they hatch. Vector control can help with distributing free flea control doses if it's needed because of accessibility or finances. And then mobile homes are the most at risk. They make up about 20% of the cases because it's harder to keep feral animals out. And all of the mobile homes within the Orange County region will be inspected by vector control this year. There are codes and information on our website. I attended some virtual meetings, it was a housing workshop, the other was building a competitive U.S. workforce. I attended a presentation of a resolution by Assemblyman Trita to Casa Youth Shelter. I attended the Los Al football team season kickoff dinner, which was actually a fundraiser, so I felt a little hoodwinked, but it's okay, got some cool hats. I've been attending the ACCOC Policymakers Academy. I think the last one is this Friday that's coming up, and the information has been so significant, and I've actually been able to pass it on and share with colleagues. I attended the Legislative Roundtable and Summer Reception for our current OC legislators and had an opportunity to discuss their policy priorities. I also got to attend a Senior of Distinction event hosted by our Congresswoman Michelle Steele, where our own Dan and Janet Gallagher were honored for their selfless and perpetual contributions to our city and our community. They are just such bucket fillers. They make my heart so happy. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I attended my CEHD meeting through SCAG to discuss the RENA process and its reforming. And I also, the last thing I did was attended the Sunburst Youth Academy Student Council speeches. They had 4 candidates for each of the 4 elected positions, and it was just so great to listen to them advocate for themselves and then their proposed contributions to their academy body. And then there was a representative from Cypress, Councilmember Bonnie Pete, and they were able to ask us some questions, and it was super cool. So that's all I've got. And I guess at this time, we will adjourn at, 9:21.